Chapter 53:36. Young Supreme Being. The seventh messenger was furious. Who does he think he is? Does he deserve to be called a supreme being? He does not deserve to be called a supreme being. Only those of us from Mount Eternal deserve to be called a supreme being. As he spoke, he slapped Shangguan Shaoxian twice in the face. Shangguan Shaoxian's mouth was bleeding, but she gritted her teeth. You are no match for senior brother Lin. The seventh messenger's face was cold. Are you challenging me? Looks like I have to send you to hell in advance. A terrifying killing intent emerged from his body. Shangguan Shaoxian's face was filled with despair. Am I going to die here? However, at this moment, outside the main hall, a person flew in. Report. The Grand Elder is calling for you. He said that there is something important for you to go over. The Grand Elder? The seventh messenger frowned. He looked at Shangguan Shaoxian and sneered. You are lucky. Take her away. He waved his hand and took Shangguan Shaoxian away. At the same time, he flew into the distance. The Grand Elder must have summoned something extremely terrifying. In the deepest part of Mount Eternal, it was extremely dark. The aura of immortality was even more terrifying. There were dozens of figures standing around. Some of them were old men in black robes, and 9 of them were wearing armor. They looked extremely serious. Together with the seventh messenger, they were the 10 great messengers. At this moment, the messengers were looking forward respectfully. The same went for the elders. There was an old man at the front. It was the Grand Elder. He said respectfully, reporting to the Supreme Being, everyone is here. No one said anything, but a black stone tablet flew out of it. On the steel, there were many mysterious runes. At this moment, the runes enlarged in the wind, emitting black flames. They turned into runes and danced in the sky. Then, they sank into the space between the eyebrows of the messengers. The messengers' faces changed, and they looked ferocious. The pain was so intense that their souls were torn apart. However, no one resisted. When the runes disappeared and the space between their eyebrows healed, all of them knelt on the ground and kowtowed. Thank you, Supreme Being. They were extremely sincere. The black stone tablet slowly disappeared. The Grand Elder stood up and said, Supreme Being has given us the immortality talisman. You must comprehend it well. It will not be long before you participate in the dragon transformation battle. This time, you must get first place and bring that thing back. Yes, Great Elder, don't worry. We definitely won't disappoint the sovereign. These people stood up, especially the 10 emissaries. They all clenched their fists. Their Mount Eternal had always been mysterious, and very few creatures came out. The others couldn't even enter. Now was the time for them to go out and display their strength. They wanted the world to feel fear. In the following period of time, these people began to move out. They walked out of Mount Eternal and didn't destroy those sections. Previously, they had suppressed the people from the surrounding sections. Firstly, it was to warn them about the Eternal Mountain region. They came out. Moreover, they also needed some slaves and battle servants, and they had enough people now. Next, they would carry out another plan, which was to fight. They wanted to rise in the starry sky in the shortest time possible and strike fear into everyone's hearts. Next, the remote antiquity families, great sects, top geniuses, and terrifying experts were all challenged. However, without exception, all of them were defeated. These black-robed figures were terrifying. Even if they were injured, they could recover quickly. It was as if they were undying existences. They were no match for him at all. The Wind Clan was defeated, the Stone Clan was defeated, the 9 Underworld sect was defeated, and the Golden Crow Clan was also defeated. In an instant, the world was in an uproar, and the news instantly spread throughout the buried Emperor's star. Countless people were terrified. They now knew that there were experts coming out of Mount Eternal. Moreover, there were quite a few of them. Damn it! How was this possible? Who were these people? How could they live in Mount Eternal? Countless doubtful voices sounded, and they even felt that this was a dream. However, it really happened, and more experts were defeated. In the end, even the geniuses and elders of the Monarch clan began to be defeated. 3 months later, a voice came from Mount Eternal. Was there no one in the outside world who could fight? How disappointing. In that case, You are not qualified to participate in the dragon transformation battle. Damn it! How dare you look down on us? The people of the buried Emperor's Star were furious. In the starry sky of the universe, they were existences that could sweep through everything. On this planet, there were countless remote antiquity families and monarch clans. Who dared to look down on them? However, these people from Mount Eternal actually said that no one dared to fight. Damn it! However, everyone was still in despair because these people from Mount Eternal were too terrifying. Moreover, they were decisive. Once they were defeated, it was very likely that they would die. Until now, no one had been able to contend against them. Some people even discovered that among the experts from Mount Eternal, there were a few who had the strength of a double-crowned king. What kind of concept was that? Everyone was in despair. They had gone too far. This time, the people from the Monarch clan couldn't stand it anymore. The Gu clan, Kurenpong clan, Chiling clan, and Yi clan began to discuss. They decided that they must accept the challenge. Otherwise, they would lose all their face. With the Monarch clans taking the lead, they joined forces with the remote antiquity families and the great sects to gather these people together for a martial arts exchange. It could be considered a warm-up match before the dragon transformation battle. After all, this matter was being watched by all the realms in the universe. If even the Monarch clans couldn't do it, then there was no hope for the others. A month later, the martial arts exchange began. The people from the Monarch clans also replied. For a moment, countless people were in an uproar as they prepared to go. The Monarch clans joining forces? So what? We aren't afraid of the Monarch clans at all. The people from Mount Eternal sneered. There were no more great emperors in the world now. Moreover, there were definitely people from the Monarch clans who knew about the situation of Mount Eternal. Therefore, they probably wouldn't dare to use extreme weapons. Without such a threat, Mount Eternal really wasn't afraid of the other people. The Great Elder looked into the distance and sneered. So what if they're from the Monarch clans? The great emperors are long gone, but our human supremes still exist. The universe still belongs to us in the end. Children, go. Let them know the power of Mount Eternal. The corners of the 10 emissaries' mouths curled up. The Great Elder didn't worry. There was no suspense in this battle. We'll let them feel despair. We'll shatter their Tao hearts. Voices rang out one after another. The 7th emissary once again said that he would bring Shangguan Shaoxian along. If they didn't want the other party to die, they had to show themselves quickly. When these words came out, many people were surprised. Who was Shangguan Shaoxian? However, the expressions of the people from the Divine Union changed. Shangguan Shaoxian had indeed been taken away by the other party. Damn it! Lin Xian's face turned even colder when he heard this. Threatening him? He would let the other party know what regret was. Lin Xian also prepared to go. Chapter 53:37. The Origin magnetic immortal platforms also received the news. They sucked in a breath of cold air. Even Yao Guang was surprised. Someone from the forbidden lands of death came out? This world was too unbelievable. Ninth Firmament Quasi-Emperor snorted. It was actually the Undying Mountain. He said to Yao Guang, "Didn't you always want to know where that place is? Are you talking about the Undying Mountain?" Yao Guang was also surprised. Ninth Firmament Quasi-Emperor nodded. It was just one of them. He didn't expect them to come out this time. Yao Guang was even more shocked. The 3 Undying Mountains were one of them. Could it be that there were also terrifying existences in the other forbidden lands of death, but they hadn't appeared yet? Thinking of this possibility, it was even more shocked. Who exactly were the people in these forbidden lands of death? Ninth Firmament Quasi-Emperor said. They were very terrifying people. Yao Guang was surprised. A Quasi-Emperor said that they were terrifying. How terrifying was that? Could it be a great emperor? He didn't dare to think further. Ninth Firmament Quasi-Emperor said, "You don't have to think too much. Just prepare in peace." The Undying Mountain must have come for the first place this time. A month's time quickly passed. Everyone rushed to the agreed place. It was an incomparably vast mountain range. It was like a huge dragon entrenched there. This place was neither far nor close to the Undying Mountain. It was a place agreed upon by both sides. At this moment, many people had already arrived on the mountain peaks of the mountain range. They were all waiting. They didn't know how exciting this battle would be. At this moment, flames appeared in the sky. Countless people looked up at the sky. It was as if 100,000 suns had descended. It was the Golden Crow clan. They all looked up. It was indeed the Golden Crow clan that had come. These people displayed powerful flames. After they arrived, they occupied this mountain range. The Golden Crow clan's faces were cold. They had been challenged by the Undying Mountain before. Moreover, a few geniuses were killed. Not only did it slap their faces, but it also caused them to suffer heavy losses. This time, they had a chance to retaliate. Yes, they would retaliate. In addition, the other ancient families and peerless sects also came. The Origin magnetic immortal platforms also came. They had extremely terrifying power. After they arrived, countless people looked up to them. Suddenly, someone exclaimed, "Look, that young man is standing beside the Origin magnetic palace master." Countless people looked over. In the next moment, their pupils shrank. Wasn't that Yao Guang? Why was he there? Could it be that he had joined forces with the Origin Magnetic Immortal Foundation? Cries of surprise rang out one after another. When it came to the light-shaking realm, no one dared to be careless. A person who cultivated the demonic heaven-devouring art was a threat to everyone. For such a person, the Origin Magnetic Immortal Foundation should have stayed far away from him. Why are they standing together? Could it be that they had reached some kind of agreement? They didn't know. Some people went over to chat with him, trying to find out more about him. In the end, nothing was found. At this moment, there were countless black flames dancing in the distance, as if a black phoenix was descending from the sky. There were quite a few figures standing on it. They were all black-clothed people. They were either dressed in black robes or black armor. Their expressions were cold, and their bodies were filled with an inextinguishable fighting spirit. Song Tian was the spirit of Mount Eternal. They're here. Countless cries of surprise rang out as pairs of eyes looked forward. They had heard of the creatures of Mount Eternal before, but this was the first time most of them had seen them. Lin Xian and the others had also arrived. At this moment, they were also looking up at the sky. Lin Xian also narrowed his eyes. The creatures of Mount Eternal walked out and looked in all directions. "Are you all here? We haven't seen you for tens of thousands of years, and you've already fallen to this extent? Even if you join forces, you won't be a match for us this time. If it weren't for some reason that we couldn't come out, this world would have been ours long ago." Arrogant words rang out, causing the people of the Great Earth family to frown. These people were too arrogant. However, in the next moment, their pupils shrank because they realized that the other party was indeed qualified to be arrogant. The creatures of Mount Eternal emitted an extremely terrifying aura that swept out in all directions. The surrounding people were shaken to the point of retreating, their blood boiling. An uproar rang out, and their faces were filled with horror. The people from Mount Eternal sneered. Among them, there was a man in armor standing at the front. The corners of his mouth curled up into a cold smile. Behind him, there was a woman in a long dress. That woman was naturally Shangguan Shaoxian. At this moment, her face was pale because she couldn't resist the power of the people around her. She didn't know if senior brother Lin was here. Could he fight against these people? Beside her, a man in armor walked over. This man, he had a black warhammer on his back. He strode over and said coldly, "Who wants to fight me?" This was the 10th emissary of Mount Eternal. He was tall and strong. Seeing that it was a young man, some of the older sacred family leaders were too embarrassed to make a move. A young man walked out from the Yi family. He wasn't Yi Wudao, but he also had an extremely terrifying bloodline. The Yi family was a great emperor family, and Emperor Yi had left behind many ultimate techniques. Among them, there was one called the celestial body tempering art. Many people in the Yi family had cultivated this body tempering art. The man who walked out was called Yi Quebec. He had already cultivated the celestial body tempering art to a certain level, and his physique was extremely terrifying. "I'll fight you." Yi stepped forward, and as he did, the mountains below and the sky above began to shake violently. The 10th emissary looked at him with a smile. "You can make the first move, or you won't have a chance." "Okay, then I won't be polite. God Yi, please be serious." With a roar, he used the celestial body tempering art to the extreme. A phantom appeared around him, and then he punched out. Celestial body immortal fist. Boundless Gangchi revolved around his fists as if a merciless god had descended. This punch was so terrifying that it made countless people exclaim, as expected of a great emperor family. Other than Yi Wudao, there were also some powerful experts. Boom. In the face of such a terrifying attack, the 10th emissary didn't move at all. He had no intention of escaping. He formed a seal with his palm, and a black mountain condensed. He threw it out, and an earth-shattering sound rang out. It collided with the celestial body immortal fist. Terrifying laws spread out in all directions. At the same time, cracks appeared on the celestial body immortal fist. Ye roared angrily. Block it for me. He used his bloodline and body tempering art to the extreme. The hammer on the 10th emissary's back flew over. The Black War hammer swept through the air with vast power and directly sent Ye flying. Boom. Ye retreated and spat out blood. His body was shattered into pieces. His celestial body tempering art was broken. How could it be defeated? He was defeated in one move. Countless people were shocked. The Yi family members were also stunned. Chapter 53:38. The Yi family was well aware of how terrifying the celestial body tempering art was. Ye had cultivated it to an extremely high level, so his physique was definitely incomparably strong. However, it had now been torn apart by a single blow. They couldn't believe it. The people around them were also shocked. The other emperor clans and sacred clans all frowned. This power was too strong. Why did it feel like it had surpassed the young giants? They knew how strong Mount Eternal was, but they felt that it would take at least a few hundred moves to determine the outcome. However, the outcome had now been decided in two simple moves. On the Divine Union side, the Crimson Dragon was also shocked. Lin Xian also frowned. Was this the power of Mount Eternal? It was indeed powerful. On the other side, Yao Guang and the others were also frowning. Some of the emperors felt despair. What shocked them even more was that this person was wearing armor, and there were 9 others wearing the same armor as him. However, their weapons were different. In other words, the other 9 people were on par with the other party in terms of strength, or even stronger. How could such a terrifying expert appear in Mount Eternal? It was unbelievable. How had they been nurtured? What kind of existence was behind Mount Eternal? On the other hand, the people from Mount Eternal were very confident and calm. This battle was completely within their expectations. So what if it was an emperor clan? The great emperor was long gone and had disappeared for tens of thousands of years. How could the remaining people be compared to them by relying on the great emperor's ancient scriptures and some bloodlines? Their Mount Eternal had a human sovereign. If it weren't for some reasons, this world would have been theirs long ago. Even the great emperor clans couldn't contend with them. The current era was the legendary Great Emperor era. Some people even said that it was the legendary Great Immortal era. Therefore, in this era, Mount Eternal had come out. How was it? Were they confident? Someone from the Kuan Peng clan asked. Kuan Pengzi shook his head. Someone from the Fire Qilin cave also asked. Fire Qilin's expression was solemn. If it was just this person, I would be confident. However, it wouldn't be easy to defeat him, at least after 1,000 moves. However, there are 9 people behind him, so I'm not so confident. Sure enough, even the Double Crown champion said so. The others were even more desperate. At this moment, the 10th emissary at the front sneered. How disappointing. No one could fight. Were all the great emperor clans trash? I heard that there are a few emperors in this world. Who are they? Are they all cowards now? No one dared to come out. Countless people were in an uproar. The other party directly challenged an emperor clan, and even challenged an emperor child. This was a direct slap to the face. Would the people from the emperor clans resist? They all looked at the princes. The Fire Qilin snorted coldly, but didn't attack. As the double champion, he had already proven his strength. Moreover, he was a cautious person and liked to play dirty, so he was not willing to take risks easily. The Dragon Prince was already dead, and the 10,000 Dragon Dynasty had Long Wu. Although she was also very powerful, she was still not the double champion. Therefore, she was not confident. Kuan Pengzi's expression was extremely ugly. Damn it, they actually dared to underestimate him. He took a step forward and walked forward. However, the elders beside him said, "Your Highness, you mustn't." In front, the 10th envoy looked over. "Oh, you're the Emperor's son of the Kuan Peng clan. Do you want to fight with me?" "No." Those elders shook their heads. The 10th emissary sneered. "Even your family members don't think highly of you. I think you'd better scram back." "Damn it." Kuan Pengzi gritted his teeth. He clenched his fists and his body trembled with anger. He turned around and said to those elders, "Let me attack. I'd rather die in battle. I don't want to live so sullenly." The elders of the Kuan Peng clan didn't say anything else. They looked at Kuan Pengzi's back as he walked into the distance and took a deep breath. They knew that the emperor had his own pride. Previously, Kuan Pengzi was an existence that stood above the 9 heavens and stood above everything. However, later on, top geniuses appeared one after another. First, it was Lin Xian, then the Fire Qilin, Hun Tian, and Yao Guang. Now, the creatures of Mount Eternal had appeared. These people were too powerful. Kuan Pengzi had already fallen behind. If he was still afraid at this time, he would probably never be able to catch up. All we can do is believe in His Highness. The elders' eyes flickered. They knew that this battle was very dangerous. It was very likely that Kuan Pengzi would be defeated. However, this battle had to be fought. This was the sorrow of being an emperor. They had too many halos on them and were the focus of countless people. If they retreated at this time, they would probably never be able to raise their heads. Once they fought, the consequences would be very terrifying. At this time, the old Kuan Peng of the Kuan Peng clan said, "The emperor's bloodline was his powerful foundation, his reliance, and also his shackles. It all depended on whether His Highness could break these shackles." In front, the 10th emissary saw Kuan Pengzi and said with a smile, "You're quite brave. However, it's a pity that you're brave but not smart. You're no match for me at all. You should attack first. Otherwise, you won't have a chance." It was the same arrogant words, but no one dared to be careless because the other party had easily defeated the heavenly spirit body tempering art last time. Kuan Pengzi also shouted angrily. His black hair danced wildly, and his eyes were like lightning. At this moment, he turned into a yin-yang light and flew in all directions. At this moment, he didn't hold back at all. He punched out, and on it, there was the phantom of a Kuan Peng. The mighty power shook the world. What a terrifying emperor's bloodline! Countless people exclaimed, and the 10th emissary's eyes lit up. "You have such a bloodline, but you're so weak. If you give me your bloodline, I'll definitely be 10 times stronger than you." Kill. With a roar, he also charged over. His fist seemed to have turned into a black mountain range, as heavy as a mountain. The two collided with each other, shattering everything. Kuan Pengzi instantly vomited blood and flew out. He felt that the other party's fist was like Mount Eternal that could suppress everything. The inextinguishable fighting spirit on it made him feel terrified. Every move of the other party carried the power of Mount Eternal. This was the power of the forbidden land of death. Fortunately, he had the Emperor's bloodline and could resist some of it. Otherwise, he would end up like Ike and be blasted into pieces with a single move. But even so, he was still suppressed. He vomited blood and flew out. He was injured again. Countless people exclaimed. Even the Emperor's son was going to be defeated in one move? No, Kuan Pengzi hadn't been defeated yet. Look, he rushed over again. Everyone found that Kuan Pengzi stopped retreating. He stomped his foot, shattering the world, and charged forward again. At this moment, Kuan Pengzi transformed into a Kuan Peng, and his body emitted an extremely terrifying yin-yang aura. It surrounded the world. This was Kuan Pengzi's original body. It was too terrifying. The yin-yang aura descended, turning into yin-yang wings that slashed down from the sky like heavenly blades. The surrounding people retreated one after another. The 10th emissary roared angrily. He waved his black war hammer, and like thousands of mountain phantoms, he charged into the 9 heavens. Chapter 53:39. The two collided, and a terrifying aura rushed out in all directions, emitting a rumbling sound. After 10 moves in a row, Kuan Peng spat out a mouthful of blood. Many of his bones were broken, and his entire body fell to the ground. Blood stained the sky. No, countless people were shocked. Had the emperor also been defeated? The elders of the Kuan Peng clan clenched their fists, and their expressions became extremely ugly. However, they didn't save him. Although he had been defeated, the emperor had his own pride. If they were to make a move at this time, they would be trampling on his pride. What emperor? You're not my match at all. The 10th emissary sneered. On his body, an inextinguishable fighting intent condensed, as if thousands of bolts of lightning were streaking across the sky. Kuan Peng's body was shattered, and blood stained the sky. However, he roared towards the sky and once again emitted a shocking aura. Beside him, the power of yin and yang became extremely terrifying, and there was even an illusion of a black sea surrounding him. Although he was injured, he still charged out. He had overestimated himself. The 10th emissary sneered. He waved his warhammer, and lightning interweaved. Immediately, Kuan Peng spat out blood and retreated. This time, his injuries were even more serious. Many bloody holes appeared on his body, and he fell from the sky again. Countless people cried when they saw this scene. They felt despair. Has Mount Eternal become so terrifying? His Highness. The elders of the Kuan Peng clan also cried out in pain. One of the old men sighed. Forget it. Let's save His Highness. They could see that Kuan Peng's situation was very bad. If they continued to fight, he might die. You're so weak that you're no match for me at all. The 10th emissary withdrew his weapon and stood in the void. It was obvious that he had no interest in fighting anymore. On the other side, a sea of blood surrounded them, and the aura of yin and yang descended. Countless people were in despair when they saw this. Even Lin Xian frowned. Has Kuan Peng's really been defeated? He also felt a trace of sadness. Kuan Peng's huge body trembled, but his eyes were filled with confusion. I've lost. I've lost again. There was even despair in his eyes. However, he soon roared. So what if I've lost? Who allowed me to lose? I'm not a god. Just because I've lost doesn't mean that I can't grow. Suddenly, an astonishing light burst out from his eyes. The bloodline in its body rumbled, and a terrifying yin and yang aura enveloped it. His body was changing. A pair of wings covered heaven and earth as he soared into the sky. In the northern underworld, there was a fish named Kuan. Its wings were like wings that hung down from the heavens. It could hit the water for 3,000 li and fly up for 90,000 li. A rumbling sound rang out, as if it was the voice of a deity. At this moment, Kuan Peng's power was exploding continuously. The yin and yang aura was so strong that it could split the sky and earth apart. The surrounding people were all stunned. His strength was actually increasing. What's going on? Wasn't he defeated? At this moment, Gu Feng, the Fire Qilin, and the others all cried out in surprise. The elders of the Kuan Peng clan, on the other hand, were extremely excited. He had broken through. His Highness had made a breakthrough. Countless cries of surprise rang out. Lin Xian's eyes also shone brightly. This battle had actually helped his opponent achieve his goal. He nodded slightly. The people at Mount Eternal also frowned. Had he broken through? The 10th emissary's face turned cold. He wanted to attack. However, at this moment, the elders of the Kuan Peng race could no longer bear it. They all soared into the sky. The terrifying yin and yang aura cut across the 9 heavens. The laws on their bodies filled the air, forming a sea of the northern underworld that swept across the sky. His Highness was breaking through. Who would dare to attack him? Angry shouts rang out one after another. The 10th emissary's face turned cold. The experts of Mount Eternal behind him also stopped him. At this moment, if they were to attack Kuan Peng's, the Kuan Peng race would probably use extreme weapons crazily. So they didn't go. Even if they had broken through. So what? One Kuan Peng's wasn't enough to be feared. They had a bigger plan. The yin and yang aura filled the sky. Kuan Peng's broke through and stood up. The aura on his body erupted. At this moment, he had finally become a double champion. The injuries on his body had also completely recovered. Pengzi transformed into his human form. His eyes flickered. It seems that I was too stubborn in the past. I walked on the wrong path. Now, I know how to continue on. He looked at the 10th emissary and said, "Thank you for letting me become clear-headed and allowing me to comprehend my own path." The 10th emissary snorted coldly. Pengzi turned around and walked away. The people of the Peng race followed. Looking at the group of people leaving, the others also exclaimed. It was really surprising that Pengzi could break through. Gu Feng and the others were envious, but the Fire Qilin's face was cold. Another emperor broke through and became a double champion? This wasn't good news for him. 10th emissary, come back. At this moment, the 9th emissary walked out. Let me fight. The 10th emissary nodded and retreated. The 9th emissary looked around and said, "Who will fight with me?" For a moment, there was complete silence. The 10th emissary was already so powerful, let alone the 9th emissary. Who dared to fight? Seeing that no one attacked, the 9th emissary sneered. A bunch of trash. But do you think you won't fight if you don't attack? I have the final say in this battle. I'm now in the late stage of the Great Sage realm, which is what you call a saint. I'll spare your lives if you're below the saint level. But for those above the saint level, you're qualified to be my opponent. So I can attack as I wish. Buzz. Speaking of this, a scythe appeared in his hand. Moreover, it was a two-handed scythe. In an instant, he quickly charged towards the Golden Crow race. It's you. He charged towards one of the saints. That saint roared angrily and wanted to dodge, but he was cut in half by the scythe. Next, he attacked again, attacking the wind race and the other ancient families. Every time, he could kill with a single slash. In the blink of an eye, more than 10 saints died. The others went crazy. How could they fight like this? Damn it. Why don't we attack together and kill him? That's right, there are so many of us, and there are also the Emperor race. We must have brought extreme Dao weapons. Countless people roared crazily. However, those from the Emperor clan all frowned deeply. They had indeed brought extreme Dao weapons, just in case. But they didn't dare to take the initiative to attack because they knew that there was a human supreme in Mount Eternal. If they angered the other party, the consequences would be unimaginable. Seeing that the Emperor race members didn't attack, the others despaired. Could it be that they were going to let the other party continue fighting like this? Suddenly, an angry roar sounded, and a Qilin phantom swept across the world. Then, 10,000 flames swept out, blocking the scythe. It even forced the 9th emissary to retreat. Who was it? Did an expert appear? They all turned their heads to look. In the next moment, they cried out in surprise because they found that the one who attacked was Fire Qilin. It turned out that the 9th emissary attacked crazily and killed many experts. Then, he came to the Fire Qilin cave and directly attacked the Fire Qilin. The Fire Qilin instantly counterattacked. Chapter 53:40. The 9th emissary's blood and qi churned. His eyes shone with a shocking light as he stared ahead. So it was the prince of the Qilin race. No wonder he was so strong. Very good. You are worthy of being my opponent. However, you people are too cunning. Are you all trying to hide your strength? That's impossible. Today, I will find all your experts. He didn't attack the Fire Qilin. Instead, he attacked again. They also knew that these monarch races definitely had experts hiding. It was just that they were all like the Fire Qilin, unwilling to take the initiative to attack. Since that was the case, they would force them out. Next, they would attack again. The two weapons transformed into scythes of death. The surrounding people were no match for him at all. He is coming towards us. The people on the Origin Magnetic Immortal platform were incomparably nervous. Could they block him? Yao Guang stood with her hands behind her back. He said it was fine. I will block him. Indeed, not long after, the other party attacked, his scythe sweeping out. The experts on the Origin Magnetic Immortal platform all retreated. However, Yao Guang stood there. With a cold snort, he slapped out with his palm. It was like a millstone that could destroy the world, blocking the scythe. At the same time, a terrifying vortex appeared above his head. It was like a devouring beast that flew towards the 9th emissary. The 9th emissary was shocked and shouted angrily. He blocked with his scythe. At the same time, he looked ahead. Who are you? He wanted to see through the other party. However, in the next moment, his pupils constricted, because he discovered an extremely shocking power in the other party's body. It was as if the other party could tear him to pieces in an instant. He quickly retreated, his expression cold. Good brat. You actually have such a secret. You are cultivating a forbidden martial art, right? You should be the legendary Yao Guang. He found the second expert. He felt that there were more, so he continued to attack. The other immortal platforms were terrified. For example, the Starfall Immortal Platform and 9-Star Immortal Platform. Their expressions turned ugly. Fortunately, at this moment, Lin Xian and the others were walking towards them. Your Highness, young master. The Starfall Immortal Platform's Palace Master and Madame Purple Star were overjoyed. Lin Xian was here. This meant that they were safe. The 9th emissary swept his way. Soon, he arrived near the Starcloud Immortal Platform and 9-Star Immortal Platform. The scythe fell, enveloping everyone. Everyone exclaimed. Lin Xian snorted coldly. He stretched out his palm and sent the sickle flying with a punch. The 9th emissary was shaken to the point where his blood and qi roiled and his arm went numb. He was once again astonished. Had a third expert appeared? However, do you think you can protect 2 Immortal Foundation experts by yourself? Aren't you a little too arrogant? Are you looking down on me? The 9th emissary sneered as an extremely cold aura emanated from his body. Lin Xian said coldly, You're not my match. Let the 7th emissary come. Hearing this, the others cried out in alarm. The 9th emissary was furious. You dare look down on me? The inextinguishable fighting spirit on his body became even more terrifying. The eyes of the 7th emissary in the distance emitted a cold glint. You have finally appeared. I thought you wouldn't dare to come. He walked out and shouted coldly. The others were shocked. Even the Emperor clan's people were at a loss. What was going on? It seemed like the two of them knew each other. Shangguan Shaoxian also cried out in alarm. It was senior brother Lin. As expected, it was him. She saw hope. Lin Xian looked at the 7th emissary and said in a low voice, I'm already here. Release my junior sister. It's not that simple. You actually dare to oppose me. I'll let you know despair. The 7th emissary waved his hand and grabbed Shangguan Shaoxian. Shangguan Shaoxian's face was pale, while Lin Xian's expression darkened. You hurt her? I'll make you die without a burial ground. The toad jumped out and shouted coldly, Pa, what Mount Eternal? Top-tier expert? You guys only know how to bully weak women. What kind of top-tier expert are you? If you have the ability, then fight with the double champion. Damn toad, shut up. The 7th emissary snorted coldly. I can spare his life, but it depends on whether you have the ability or not. If you can defeat Old 9, I'll give you a chance. Old 9, are you all right? The 7th emissary asked. The 9th emissary said, Don't worry, 7th brother. Leave it to me. This brat dares to look down on me. I'll make him pay the price. Brat, prepare to die. Killing intent emerged from his body. Lin Xian's face also darkened. Now that his junior sister was in the hands of the other party, he had to hold back. It seemed that he had to capture the 9th emissary in exchange for Shangguan Shaoxian. After all, these people had the strength of the double champion. Mount Eternal would definitely not allow these people to die. At this point, he also smiled. All right, let's fight then. Lin Xian waved his hand. Make your move, or you won't have a chance. Damn brat, I should be the one saying that. But since you want to die, I'll fulfill your wish. The 9th emissary was indeed angry. As soon as they appeared, they suppressed the monarch race until they didn't dare to resist. Didn't they see that the fire Qilin didn't want to come out easily? But now, a brat jumped out and dared to look down on them. It was really detestable. No one could be arrogant in front of them, so he had to let the other party go to hell. With an angry roar, the dual sabers appeared in his hands and slashed forward like 1,000 waves. Was a battle about to break out? Countless people were shocked. This time, it was Lin Wuti who attacked. They didn't know how the battle was going. Although Lin Xian's strength had long been deeply rooted in the hearts of the people, this time, he was a creature from Mount Eternal. The other party was too strong. Even the monarch race didn't dare to resist. One could imagine how terrifying these people were. So in this battle, whether Lin Xian could win or not, they really didn't know. Facing the terrifying two-handed scythe, Lin Xian didn't retreat. Instead, he rushed forward. The demon god seal continued to bombard. The terrifying demonic chi was vast. The great seal collided with the dual sabers, emitting an earth-shaking sound. The surrounding people were so shocked that their blood was boiling. They all sealed their hearing. The ninth emissary's face darkened. Damn it! How could the other party be so powerful? For the first time, he felt shocked that this person could compete with him. No wonder the other party dared to be so arrogant. The other party did have the right to be arrogant. But so what? Their Mount Eternal was definitely not something the other party could imagine. Thinking of this, he roared angrily and waved his scythe, turning it into an arc. A terrifying black statue appeared. It was like a god of death with a terrifying aura. The black statue took the scythe and slashed down, splitting the whole world. The power of this attack was even more terrifying than before. Even the pupils of the fire Qilin and the others shrank. Was this the power of Mount Eternal? It was really too terrifying. They were shocked. The others were even more shocked. Could Lin Wuti block it? After all, this was the power of Mount Eternal, the power of the forbidden land of death. The people of the Divine Union, the 9-star Immortal Platform, and the Starfall Immortal Platform were even more nervous. In the face of such an attack, Lin Xian took a deep breath. He formed a seal with his palms. The Taiji diagram rotated in his hand and then flew forward. The power of yin and yang spread out again. Chapter 53:41. The Power of Yin and Yang. The ninth emissary had a strange expression on his face before he sneered. You're really stupid. The strongest yin and yang power in the universe belonged to the Kuan-Pong race. And the strongest genius of the Kuan-Pong race, Kuan-Pong-Zi, had already been defeated. No matter how strong your yin and yang power is, can it be stronger than Kuan-Pong-Zi's? Ridiculous. Go to hell. The grim Reaper phantom that he condensed waved its sickles even faster. However, he was wrong this time. Lin Xian's strength was above Kuan-Pong-Zi's. The Tai Chi diagram was incomparably mysterious. The Tai Chi diagram flew out and turned into a yin god and a yang god. They were like two giants that stood between heaven and earth. The yin-yang god grabbed the two death sickles and exerted force. With a poochie sound, blood splattered, as if someone had used a heavenly blade to split it open. The Grim Reaper was torn in half. The ninth emissary was also sent flying while vomiting blood. Countless people were shocked when they saw this scene. Heavens, he lost. The ninth emissary was actually injured. It was too unbelievable. One had to know that the ninth emissary was invincible when he came out. But now, he was defeated by Lin Xian. As expected of Lin Wuti, the people on the buried Emperor Star's side clenched their fists. Previously, they were suppressed by Mount Eternal and couldn't raise their heads. They were very sullen. Now that Lin Xian had won the competition, they were naturally excited. The ninth emissary let out a crazy roar. How dare you injure me? Go to hell. The two blades danced and turned into a black storm that swept out. The black tornado surrounded heaven and earth, shattering the void wherever it passed. The surrounding divine ancestors were so frightened that they kept retreating. Lin Xian formed a seal with his palm and attacked again. The power of yin and yang erupted. The huge yin-yang god accompanied Lin Xian's palm and quickly punched out. The yang god roared and punched the sky. The yin god was terrifying and froze heaven and earth. The two of them once again clashed with the ninth emissary. The ninth emissary vomited blood and was sent flying again. His divine ability was shattered, and this time, his injuries were even more serious. The surrounding people sucked in a cold breath. The people on Mount Eternal's side were also dumbfounded. Damn it! How is this possible? The ninth emissary was defeated. Who is this young man? Why is he so powerful? Buried Emperor Star. They couldn't believe it. Some of them looked at the seventh emissary because it seemed that the seventh emissary knew him. Before the seventh emissary could say anything, the situation in front of them changed again. The yin-yang god once again turned into a Tai Chi diagram, which spun continuously and enveloped the ninth emissary. Suppress him. Lin Xian took a step forward, the demon god wings on his back, flapping as he arrived in front of the old man. He stepped on the ninth emissary and said coldly, "You want to dominate the world? If you can't even defeat me, what qualifications do you have to dominate the world?" A calm voice rang out, causing the ninth emissary to vomit blood in anger. "Damn brat. If you have the ability, then let me go and fight to the death. You've already been suppressed by me. What qualifications do you have to be my opponent? Damn it, let him go." The people from Mount Eternal also roared angrily. "You dare to suppress him? Do you want to die? Obediently kneel down and accept your death." Angry shouts rang out one after another. At this moment, someone from the Yi clan spoke up. "Why didn't they follow the rules? When our people were defeated in the previous exchange, we didn't make a move either. Why didn't you abide by the rules when the people of Mount Eternal were defeated? We have a lot of people in the competition." The people from the Yi clan stepped forward, and the people from the Divine Union also stepped forward. The people from Mount Eternal frowned. "Don't make a move." This time, they came to make these people despair. If a world-shaking battle broke out, then it would be meaningless. "What do you want?" an elder asked. Lin Xian smiled. "It's very simple. As long as my junior sister releases him, I can't consider letting him go." Hearing this, the seventh emissary's face turned cold. Was the other party threatening him? The ninth emissary also shouted angrily. "Who does your junior sister think she is? Is she worthy of my exchange? Is she qualified to be mentioned in the same breath as me? How dare she be so arrogant?" Lin Xian sneered and stomped his foot, breaking one of the other party's arms. At the same time, he kicked the other party's body, breaking most of the other party's bones. The pain made the emissary roar. Damn it! He was so angry that his whole body trembled. There was a mysterious rune between his eyebrows that suddenly erupted, wanting to blow away the Tai Chi diagram. Great! The people from Mount Eternal were also delighted. Their trump cards were not what the other party could imagine. As long as the ninth emissary came back, they would make him suffer a fate worse than death. Especially this Shangguan Shaoxian. He wanted to kill her in front of the other party. However, they were destined to be disappointed. The Tai Chi diagram shook, but Lin Xian slashed out with his sword. The sharp sword light instantly pierced through the ninth emissary. That invincible power continued to attack. The ninth emissary roared. The wound on his body could not be healed. He was terrified. Damn it! How could it be like this? The people on the other side also shouted angrily. The seventh emissary, quickly give junior sister to him. Get the ninth emissary back, an elder said. The seventh emissary also frowned. He was extremely unwilling, but the situation in front of him was too strange. In the end, he could only grit his teeth. Fine, I'll exchange. Let's exchange. Lin Xian shook his head. Let him go first. Damn it. What if you don't let him go? Lin Xian said, you have no choice if you don't want him to die. If he were to die, it would be a huge blow to Mount Eternal, right? The seventh emissary had no choice but to let Shangguan Shaoxian go first. Senior brother. Shangguan Shaoxian flew over. Lin Xian nodded. Are you injured? Shangguan Shaoxian shook her head. It's just some minor injuries. Behind her, the people of the Divine Union also flew over and took Shangguan Shaoxian. They let him recover. The people of Mount Eternal said, I've already let your junior sister go. Now, you can let our man go. Don't worry, I won't kill him because he's too trashy. He's not qualified for me to kill him. You guys value trash like him so much. Mount Eternal isn't that great. After saying that, Lin Xian threw the ninth emissary far away as if he was throwing away trash. The people around felt their scalps go numb. Trash? Only Lin Xian would dare to say such a thing. The others were no match for the ninth emissary. The people of Mount Eternal were also trembling with anger. They had spent so much effort to cultivate the ninth emissary, but he actually called him trash. They could not stand it. Lin Xian's eyes, however, shone with an extremely sharp light. Although I've spared the ninth emissary, it doesn't mean I'll spare you. You dared to hurt my junior sister. I'll make you pay. Get over here and accept your death. Lin Xian looked ahead. The seventh emissary's face was cold. I've been wanting to kill you for a long time. He also walked out. You guys go too. Behind him, the elder of Mount Eternal said coldly. Suddenly, two more attendants walked out. They stared at the Fire Qilin and Yao Guang. These two were extremely terrifying experts. They had to deal with them together. For a moment, the atmosphere became tense again. Everyone was nervous. Was another earth-shattering battle about to break out? Would Lin Xian and the others be able to win this time? Chapter 53-42. The seventh emissary targeted Lin Xian, while the other two emissaries targeted Hua Qilin and Yao Guang respectively. Cold killing intent began to spread in the surroundings. The three emissaries were as fast as lightning as they charged towards their respective opponents. The seventh emissary waved the battle saber in his hand, which turned into a ray of light. Like a shooting star, it drowned the place where Lin Xian was. A rumbling sound was heard as Lin Xian punched out. It was like a sun that shone in all directions. This sun advanced courageously, slaughtering its way forward, destroying everything. It struck Fanguang until he trembled. The power of the divine body was completely unleashed at this moment. Lin Xian was like the sun god of war, sweeping in all directions and blasting away the saber light. The surrounding people exclaimed, "What a terrifying physique! Even if they had powerful sacred weapons, they wouldn't dare to go against such a saber light." Now, Lin Xian was blasted away with just the power of the divine body. It was really shocking. The seventh emissary's expression was also very solemn. His opponent's physique was beyond his imagination. Lin Xian said coldly, "Show me your true strength. Otherwise, you won't be my opponent." All right. The seventh emissary had fought with Lin Xian before. He knew that his opponent was definitely an expert. Therefore, he didn't dare to be careless. Saber light appeared on his body, and the terrifying saber law swept across the 9 heavens. At this moment, the sky collapsed and the earth cracked. Nothing could stop it. Lin Xian also strode forward. He was emitting an extremely terrifying aura. The Tai Chi diagram spun again. The law of yin and yang danced between heaven and earth, turning into the yin-yang god. It was indomitable like a divine king. It appeared. Everyone was shocked. The Tai Chi diagram was one of Lin Xian's super powerful techniques. He had used this technique to defeat the 10th emissary before. Now, was he going to use it against the 7th emissary? The people from Mount Eternal frowned. This young man's yin and yang power was even more terrifying than the Kuan-Pong clans. It was really unexpected. The yin-yang god in front attacked. Its terrifying power shattered everything. It enveloped the 7th emissary in front. In the next moment, countless black holes appeared in the sky. The 7th emissary's figure had already disappeared. The surrounding people cried out in shock when they saw this scene. Tian couldn't have been killed in one move, right? Everyone was terrified. This Lin Xian was too heaven-defying. On the other hand, Lin Xian's expression was incomparably grave. He naturally knew that the other party had the strength of a double champion. It was impossible for him to be killed so easily. Rinnegan opened in his right eye and looked in all directions. In the next moment, his figure flashed and flew to the side. Suddenly, a saber light appeared behind him and split the void apart. Lin Xian dodged the attack by a hair's breadth. Lin Xian's figure swayed again. He used Shadowless Heaven's Net, and his figure became extremely ethereal. However, the saber light was extremely terrifying. It tore apart all the phantoms it formed. His speed was so fast that he looked like a bolt of lightning dancing in the sky. The spectators were all dumbfounded. The reason for that was because they were unable to tell where the 7th emissary was. Similarly, they couldn't see Lin Xian's figure. They could only see terrifying black holes appearing one after another. Now, they also knew that the 7th emissary didn't die at all from the attack just now. He had dodged at an extremely fast speed. As expected of the 7th emissary, he was stronger than the 10th emissary. Lin Xian, who was in front of him, snorted coldly. The yin-yang god released a terrifying yin-yang sword qi. With him as the center, it spread in all directions. At this moment, the void was completely shattered. No matter how fast and strong the other party was, He couldn't hide anymore. Sure enough, a figure flew out from the void. Saber light surrounded his body, resisting the yin-yang sword chi that filled the sky. In the next moment, he stood in the void like a saber god. The long saber in his hand danced. A huge saber light slowly condensed, emitting a terrifying light. Then, he charged towards the yin-yang god. An earth-shattering sound was heard. The sky fell, and the earth cracked. The two supreme supernatural powers made the surrounding people retreat. The power of this saber was extremely terrifying. It carried an indestructible power, as if it was a saber from Mount Eternal. The yin-yang god was shattered. Countless people were terrified. Was the Tai Chi diagram broken? However, the seventh emissary's pupil shrank, because he found that the shattered yin-yang god had turned into a Tai Chi diagram again, spinning non-stop. Like an aurora, it flew towards them. He quickly retreated. In the next moment, the attack hit beside him, shattering the void around him. His chi and blood were in turmoil, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. The surrounding people exclaimed, "So powerful." This Tai Chi diagram was too mysterious. The complexions of the twins of Destiny clan became extremely unsightly. Their Destiny twins could form 3 statues. As long as they weren't destroyed at the same time, they could recover indefinitely. Previously, Lin Xian had killed his way into their Destiny twins and absorbed a lot of Destiny power. Therefore, the other party's Tai Chi diagram probably had a similar power to theirs. As long as the yin-yang god wasn't destroyed at the same time, it would probably recover indefinitely. The Tai Chi diagram wouldn't be shattered. Damn it, the other party was using their power. This made the Destiny twins grit their teeth so hard that they almost broke. It recovered again? The seventh emissary also snorted coldly, but soon he sneered. So what? Compared to being immortal and indestructible, you are far inferior. The power of our Mount Eternal is the true immortal and indestructible. Now, I'll let you truly experience this power. The seventh emissary directly charged over. At this moment, he quickly rushed over and fought in close combat. The saber light swept out in all directions, tearing the yin-yang god apart once again. The yin-yang god was shattered, and his body was also split open. But in the next moment, his body quickly recovered and charged towards Lin Xian. The surrounding people exclaimed, "Heavens, he recovered so quickly." The older generation's sacred lords were also shocked. This was the power of Mount Eternal. Mount Eternal had the power of being immortal and indestructible. Were they immortal? It was too unbelievable. Boy, what do you have to fight with me? This time, the seventh emissary finally arrived in front of Lin Xian. He slashed down at Lin Xian with his saber. Lin Xian formed a seal, the demon god seal, to resist the attack. However, the seventh emissary didn't dodge at all. He allowed the demon god seal to hit his body, and this saber also hit Lin Xian's body. The two of them flew out. A crack appeared on Lin Xian's body. He used the immortal indestructible technique to form the immortal armor and began to recover. The seventh emissary recovered even faster. You are recovering quickly too. I can even feel the aura of Mount Eternal on your body. You have entered Mount Eternal. He was very surprised. He was familiar with Lin Xian's cultivation technique. Lin Xian frowned. He had indeed entered Mount Eternal. He had obtained the immortal indestructible palace from a stone tablet on Mount Eternal. Seeing that Lin Xian didn't answer, the seventh emissary sneered. So what? You can't compare to us. The injuries on his body recovered first. Let's see how long you can last. The seventh emissary attacked again without any regard for his life. Chapter 53-43. Lin Xian furrowed his brows tightly as the other party charged over. His injuries had also healed, but he seemed to be a step slower than the other party. The next moment, he attacked again. Demon God Finger. A finger pierced through heaven and earth. Could this finger transform into millions of demon god rays? The seventh emissary's body was pierced, and the other party's long blade slashed at Lin Xian again. Both of them vomited blood and retreated. Both of them were injured. The surrounding people exclaimed. The members of the Divine Union also had ugly expressions on their faces. This was not good. The seventh emissary had an indestructible power and could recover instantly. In this way, Lin Xian would be the one at a disadvantage. The others also realized that Lin Wuti had met his match. They didn't know how he was going to break out of this situation. Yes, Lin Wuti had probably never seen such a fighting style before. The other divine ancestors shook their heads. Lin Wuti wasn't the only one who had seen such a desperate fighting style. No matter how strong one's recovery ability was, each recovery would consume energy. If one was not careful, one's martial arts foundation would be damaged. Who would dare to risk their lives like this? However, Mount Eternal seemed to have such a mysterious power that the other party didn't care at all. In the next 3 rounds, both parties were injured. Each time, the seventh emissary recovered very quickly. He stood in the void and laughed loudly. "Kid, do you see that? Your recovery speed is getting slower and slower. Soon, your power will be used up. That will be the time of your death. Do you have any other tricks up your sleeve? If not, I can send you to hell." The seventh emissary's face was cold. His opponent was far inferior to him. Lin Xian's expression was cold. He did have other trump cards. The next moment, he said, "An indestructible body? I don't believe there is such a body in this world. You just have some mysterious power, but you are not truly indestructible. Watch me break the power of Mount Eternal." "You?" The seventh emissary laughed as if he had heard the funniest joke. The people of Mount Eternal behind him also snorted. This kid was too stupid. Who did he think he was? What method did he use to break the power of indestructibility? We can't be killed. The people outside were really too stupid. In the face of such mockery, Lin Xian remained unmoved. In the next moment, the great dragon sword soul in his body began to circulate. His power surged out, and it was invincible. Lin Xian brandished the Hellfire Dragon Sword. At this moment, he seemed to have transformed into a peerless sword god. A sword returning to origin, the biting cold sword light drew an arc in the air and attacked forward. "You also know swordsmanship? It's useless, kid. So what if you're a peerless swordsman? My saber skills aren't any weaker than yours." Not to mention his recovery ability. The seventh emissary once again used a suicidal attack. He was struck by the sword, but at the same time, he charged towards Lin Xian. Both of them were sent flying once again. "Recover for me," the seventh emissary shouted angrily. The power of immortality and indestructibility appeared. He wanted to recover instantly. According to his guess, Lin Xian had already been injured 5 times, and these were no ordinary injuries. It was his saber wound. Every time the other party healed it, it would consume a lot of energy. Now, the other party was unable to recover in a short period of time, but he could recover in an instant. That way, the gap between the two sides would be too big, and it would be able to suppress the other side in an instant. He felt that the battle could end, but in the next moment, he cried out in alarm, because he realized that this time, his sword wound was difficult to recover from. How was this possible? The sword she carried an invincible power. Damn it! He looked at the crack in shock. What kind of power was this? Immortality and indestructibility? You think too highly of yourself. At this moment, a sneer came from the front. The seventh emissary suddenly raised his head. In the next moment, he was even more shocked because he realized that Lin Xian had already recovered. "This is impossible. How do you still have strength?" This was completely different from what he had imagined. Lin Xian sneered but did not say a word. When he recovered previously, he had only used his own strength. Now, he had used the power of the sword world. There was the divine water of life inside, so it was not a problem for him to recover from these injuries. What was going on? What was Old Seven doing? The people from Mount Eternal behind him also frowned. Why was it the other party who recovered? Why didn't Old Seven use his strength to recover his body? At this moment, Lin Xian made his move again. It was Sword Chi again, the 9-star sword art. 9 stars aligned. The terrifying sword slashed down, and it also carried an invincible power. "Block it!" The seventh emissary roared crazily. His saber technique was abnormally terrifying. The huge saber light was like an aurora, causing the stars in the sky to dim. However, at this moment, The starlight in the sky condensed and turned into a divine sword that slashed down from the sky. In the next moment, the two retreated again. Lin Xian and the seventh emissary were both injured. The seventh emissary roared angrily, "Recover for me." His previous wound had been healed by him, but he found that the second wound was still the same. He could not recover in a short period of time. Damn it! How could this be? However, Lin Xian stood up. "Do you really think that you are immortal? I've said it before. I'll break your undying body. How is this possible?" He suppressed the power of immortality and indestructibility. Behind him, the people from Mount Eternal were also terrified. How did he do it? The others also exclaimed. Yin Ruyu smiled, and Murong Qingqing also breathed a sigh of relief. They knew that Lin Xian was using the power of the great dragon sword soul. The offensive saint technique was invincible. Even if the other party had the power of Mount Eternal, it would not be so easy to resolve. The other powerhouses also guessed it, and they were all silent. Only Lin Xian would have been able to resist such power. It would be difficult for others to do so. Why? Damn it! Why did it turn out like this? The seventh emissary roared crazily, and the people from Mount Eternal behind him also roared. Damn kid, what kind of method did you use? They could not believe it. Could it be that the sword in the other party's hand was an extreme weapon? If it was an extreme power, they could not contend with it. Lin Xian snorted coldly. Idiots! Do you think you can look down on everything just because you're from Mount Eternal? Unfortunately, you can't look down on me. I am an existence that you can't imagine. I am the successor of the Great Dragon Sword. The Great Dragon Sword. Hearing this name, the people from Mount Eternal's pupils shrank, and their faces became incomparably ugly. How could they not have heard of it? This was a superpower in the world. Other than the extreme weapons of the Emperor clan, there were also some other weapons. That was the 5 divine swords formed between heaven and earth, and they represented different powers. The Great Dragon Sword was one of them, and it was an invincible power. However, the Great Dragon Sword had long disappeared. Some people said that the Great Dragon Sword had been broken and would not appear again. They did not expect that the successor of the Great Dragon Sword would appear now. Could it be that the Great Dragon Sword had recovered? This was too unbelievable. Chapter 53-44. Lin Xian used the power of the Great Dragon Sword Soul to suppress the 7th emissary. This made the 7th emissary so depressed that he vomited blood. He retreated and did not attack again. The battle on the other two sides was also extremely terrifying. The light-shaking realm had all kinds of secret techniques, including the Gu clan's secret techniques and the Yi clan's secret techniques. He could use both the Tian Pong race's secret techniques and the Fate realm's secret techniques, shocking everyone. Not only were the people from Mount Eternal shocked, but even the ancient clans and emperor clans on the buried Emperor Star were shocked. When such a person matured, who could resist him? The Fire Qilin was using his disciple's bloodline with all his strength. As the Double Crown King, he was much stronger than the Kuanpeng Sun. He carried 10,000 flames and possessed boundless might. Both sides were locked in battle. Everyone was shocked. They could see that the people sent by Mount Eternal were all at the level of Double Crown champions. If they wanted to fight, only the Double Crown Kings could contend against them. Apart from them, only the old Sacred Lords could. However, there were not many people like them. The others were simply not their match. The light-shaking realm cultivator did not use his primal chaos physique. It seemed that he was still hiding his strength. However, apart from that, his other secret techniques and divine abilities were already enough to contend against his opponent. At this moment, the 9 Firmament's Quasi-Emperor's soul said, "Now is an opportunity. Get closer to Lin Xian. I want to devour him. I want to obtain his physique." Lin Xian's talent and strength were simply too strong. Furthermore, as the successor of the Great Dragon and the successor of the 9 Suns, even the Quasi-Emperor's eyes were burning. The 9 Firmament's Quasi-Emperor urgently needed a body. His target was Lin Xian. Yao Guang nodded after hearing that. All right, but let's make it clear. After you obtain his Emperor's secret technique, you have to let me cultivate it. No problem. The 9 Firmament's Quasi-Emperor laughed. Yao Guang retreated as she fought. It seemed that she could not win. The emissary from Mount Eternal roared angrily. He felt that this was a good opportunity. He quickly charged over. The two of them fought their way over and arrived near Lin Xian. At this moment, Yao Guang suddenly unleashed a terrifying whirlpool that charged towards Lin Xian. It instantly enveloped Lin Xian. This strange scene stunned the surrounding people. They had never expected that a light-shaking realm cultivator would suddenly attack Lin Xian. Many people were alarmed. They knew that Yao Guang cultivated the demonic heaven-devouring technique. Could it be that he wanted to devour Lin Wuti? If that was the case, perhaps no one in the world would be able to contend against him. Not good. Lin Gongzi is in danger. On the Nebula Immortal platforms, the people on the 9-star Immortal platforms were all nervous. The people from the Divine Union also sucked in a breath of cold air. Murong Qingqing and the others had indeed said that it was fine. Yao Guang still couldn't swallow Brother Xian. They had full confidence in Lin Xian. After Lin Xian was enveloped by the black vortex, he snorted coldly. You want to swallow me? Just you? He slashed out with his sword, intending to split the devouring vortex apart. However, at this moment, a sinister voice sounded. He naturally can't devour you, but what about me? Upon hearing this voice, Lin Xian's pupil shrank as he thought of someone. That shouldn't be the case. How could that person appear here? In the next moment, he felt an extremely terrifying aura pressing down on him. This was the aura of a quasi-emperor, and it was incomparably familiar. It's you who deserves to die. This is impossible, Lin Xian roared. Wasn't the 9 firmaments quasi-emperor sealed by Sakura? How could he have escaped? Kid, you still remember. If it wasn't for you guys, how could my physique have been sealed? Now that I'm lacking a body, give me your body. At this point, the quasi-emperor's soul frantically rushed in, wanting to seize Lin Xian's body. Lin Xian roared. He didn't dare to be careless. The great dragon sword soul was unleashed to the extreme. He slashed out with his sword, blocking the quasi-emperor's soul. Damn it! The 9 firmaments quasi-emperor roared. His current soul was only a remnant soul. The great dragon sword soul was also extremely terrifying. In an instant, he was blocked. He roared, "Help me restrain him." Yao Guang also took a deep breath. In the next instant, an earth-shattering black vortex appeared around them. He then unleashed the chaotic body in a frenzy, suppressing Lin Xian in an instant. Lin Xian was even more shocked. Chaos physique, you really swallowed the entire sky. He was too shocked. This power made him feel a sense of danger. The people from the 9-star Immortal Foundation roared. Damn it! Origin Magnetic Immortal Foundation. What are you guys trying to do? The people from the Nebula Immortal Foundation also said. You guys actually dared to secretly attack our highness. Are you guys trying to start a war? The people from the Origin Magnetic Immortal Foundation said. Yao Guang isn't one of us. If you want revenge, find Yao Guang yourself. Besides, he is the double champion. How can we control what he wants to do? The people from the Origin Magnetic Immortal Foundation sneered. They were very confident now because they knew that there was a quasi-emperor behind Yao Guang. Although it was only a remnant soul, it wasn't something that other sages could contend against. They weren't afraid of other immortal foundations at all. They all looked at the black vortex in front of them, hoping that the quasi-emperor would succeed this time. If that was the case, their strength would be even stronger, and they might be able to sweep away other immortal foundations. In the black vortex, Yao Guang finally unleashed his chaos physique, suppressing Lin Xian. He said coldly, "You didn't expect that you would have such a day, right? Don't worry, after you're dead, I'll bring your ultimate divine ability to greater heights." On the other side, the 9 firmament quasi-emperor's soul attacked again. Lin Xian roared, and the heaven-swallowing jar also struck out. The 9 firmament quasi-emperor roared, fighting back. It's useless. Although you have these trump cards, your strength is too weak. If you have the strength of a quasi-emperor, I will turn and run. But now you are just a great sage. You are unable to fully unleash the power of these weapons. When I get the heaven-swallowing jar, I will let you know what the power of an ultimate weapon is. The 9 firmament quasi-emperor was very happy. He could imagine how bright his future was. Lin Xian's expression was ugly. He knew that he couldn't hold back anymore. The sword whirled and his body opened, and endless power surged out. With a boom, the heaven-swallowing jar directly attacked the 9 firmament quasi-emperor. At the same time, the great dragon's sword soul roared, and endless power surged, and the invincible power directly slashed at Yao Guang. Boom! Yao Guang's expression changed drastically. She didn't expect Lin Xian to be able to fully recover the great dragon sword soul. In a hurry, she used the void ability and quickly fled. On the other side, the 9 firmament quasi-emperor was also angry. Damn it, you actually brought so much power. He was really shocked. He also quickly fled. In the next moment, the entire void shattered, and the endless black hole disappeared. The faces of those outside became frightened. This was the great dragon sword and the heaven-swallowing jar. Lin Wudi was going to fight with his life. Heavens, he could actually use an ultimate weapon to such an extent. What happened? They were too shocked. They saw the sword chi around Lin Xian's body, swallowing the sky. Lin Xian's face was incomparably pale. What was going on? His aura was not right. The faces of Murong Qingqing and the others also changed. They all asked. The others were in an uproar. Chapter 53-45. On the other side, Yao Guang was sent flying. A wound had appeared on his body, and sage blood was dripping from it. In his mind, the 9 firmament sub-emperor's soul flew out, howling furiously. Damn it, it was obvious that the heaven-devouring jar had also injured him. The surrounding people went crazy. Was the light-shaking realm already so terrifying? Lin Xian had no choice but to use the heaven-swallowing jar. When he saw this, Gu Feng coldly harumphed. The younger generation was competing with their true strength. What was the meaning of using an extreme-grade weapon? Were you bullying Yao Guang for not having an extreme-grade weapon? The Gu clan could lend him an extreme-grade weapon. The 10,000 Dragons Court's Long Wu also stepped forward and said, "We can also lend him the 10,000 Dragons diagram." The others were in an uproar. Was there going to be an extreme-grade battle? Lin Xian, however, harumphed coldly. Was that so? If you want to lend it, then lend it to him. But do you think you have a chance to get it back? After speaking, he ignored the shocked expressions of these people and stared at Yao Guang. I didn't expect you to have the remnant soul of a sub-emperor on you. Do you think that's possible? What? A sub-emperor's remnant soul? Countless people were shocked. Even Gu Feng's pupils constricted. Long Wu's smile disappeared. If this was true, they really didn't dare to lend an extreme-grade weapon to him. Impossible. How could he have a sub-emperor's remnant soul? Didn't you just want to find an excuse to use an extreme-grade weapon to kill him? Gu Feng still didn't give up. Lin Xian glanced at him and laughed coldly. Idiot, if you continue to stay with Yao Guang, he might swallow you up one day. Do you know what happened to Hun Tian? Although I killed him, his corpse was swallowed by Yao Guang. Now, Yao Guang can already use the primal chaos body. You don't know his hidden trump cards at all. Once these words were spoken, everyone was even more shocked. Even the primal chaos race's members were shocked. Impossible. These people didn't believe it. They stared at Yao Guang and began to question him. Yao Guang's expression was ugly. He gritted his teeth, but he didn't admit it, because the cultivation technique he cultivated made him an enemy of the entire world. He didn't want to fight with the emperor clans. At least, he couldn't do it now. So he harumphed coldly. At the same time, he secretly contacted the Purple Mansion. Even though he was from the Z government, he was still very worried. Would this light-shaking realm cultivator make a move against them? After all, light-shaking realm cultivators were growing too quickly and were completely out of their control. They felt that they could not control this person. However, at this moment, the 9 Heavens Quasi-Emperor transmitted his voice to the Purple Mansion Master. The Purple Mansion Master's pupil shrank when he heard the news. In the next moment, he stood out and said, Yao Guang is one of our prefect's people. Whoever touches her will be the enemy of the Z Mansion. He also exuded a terrifying aura. Although the Purple Mansion had never produced a great emperor, it did have an extreme weapon, the Dragon Pattern Cauldron. Apart from that, there was also the Triple Crown King and other sleeping experts in the Purple Mansion. It could be said to be extremely terrifying. The others were in an uproar. With the Violet Palace realm fully supporting the light-shaking realm cultivator, they couldn't do anything else. Yao Guang sneered and retreated. Before she left, she glared at Lin Xian. "Just you wait." The voice of the quasi-emperor of the 9 heavens rang out. Lin Xian stood there and stared ahead. Were they still going to fight? The people of Mount Eternal had ugly expressions. The 7th emissary also retreated. Now that the other party was holding an extreme weapon, did they still want to fight? Who dared to fight? The elders of Mount Eternal harumphed coldly. The current situation was unclear. Just now, they had also felt an extremely terrifying aura. Perhaps the remnant soul of a quasi-emperor had really appeared. Even they did not dare to be careless against such an existence. Today, they had investigated clearly. Apart from Lin Wudi, the light-shaking realm cultivators, and a few others, no one else could contend against them. The 10 emissaries on their side were all double crown kings. Once they participated in the dragon transformation battle, they would have an absolute advantage. So, they sneered. The emperor clans of the buried emperor star are only SOSO. They can't be compared to Mount Eternal. This is just a warm-up match. When the real dragon transformation battle comes, we won't hold back. Let's go. With a wave of their hands, they turned into monstrous black flames that swept into the distance. Did they leave? The people around them heaved a sigh of relief. However, the powerhouses had heavy hearts. Only a few of the 10 emissaries had come out. There were still a few who had not made a move. They should be even more terrifying. Let's go back. The emperor clans were also preparing to return. However, they did not leave alone. Instead, they were preparing to gather again to discuss. After all, Mount Eternal was still a threat. The Yi family naturally invited the Divine Union. Lin Xian and the others also went. At this banquet, the emperor clans and remote antiquity clans began to share their information. However, they were unwilling to mention the supreme existence of Mount Eternal. They talked a lot about the dragon transformation battle. The top 10 of the dragon transformation battle could enter the rankings. They would receive the corresponding rewards. The rewards would make even the divine ancestor jealous. They could be said to be very precious treasures. In particular, the first place would receive the treasure left behind by the emperor. They guessed that Mount Eternal should have appeared for the treasure left behind by the emperor. The treasure left behind by the emperor. Even a quasi-emperor would be jealous, let alone a sage like them. So, many powerhouses clenched their fists. Of course, they knew that it was impossible to become the first place. At least, it was the double crown winners. Only Lin Xian, the Fire Qilin, Yao Guang, and the others had hope. Of course, this was only hope because there were 4 double crown winners on Mount Eternal's side. In addition, some double crown winners had appeared. When the time came, it would be hard to say who would win and who would lose. Of course, some people were worried that if the triple crown winner of the Purple Mansion woke up, no one would be able to contend against him. The Emperor clans also asked. The Purple Mansion smiled mysteriously. This made everyone even more worried. In the Purple Mansion team, Yao Guang also sat there. Now, he also needed the protection of the Purple Mansion. His face was cold. At this moment, there was a vortex in his body that was constantly devouring. Devouring half of the chaotic body had greatly increased his strength. However, he realized that he could not suppress Lin Xian. So, he decided to continue devouring. It would be best if he could devour the entire chaotic body. That way, he would have the confidence to become the Triple Crown winner. After the banquet, everyone went back and began to organize the information. After all, they were going to participate in the dragon transformation battle. Everyone had to prepare well. Even some of the older powerhouses had to make a move. As long as they were not over 5,000 years old, they would have a chance. After returning, Murong Qingqing, Yin Ruyu, and the others asked, Brother Xian, is there really a quasi-emperor by Yao Guang's side? Lin Xian nodded. It was the quasi-emperor that was sealed by Sakura. Some of his soul had escaped. What? Murong Qingqing and the others were even more shocked. They had all seen the 9th firmament quasi-emperor and knew how powerful he was. They did not expect that he would be able to escape after being sealed by a great emperor like Sakura. He indeed had some tricks up his sleeve. Chapter 53-46. If you meet a light-shaking realm cultivator in the future, you must be careful. Lin Xian reminded them. Murong Qingcheng and the others also nodded, their expressions somewhat solemn. Next, they went into seclusion to prepare for the dragon transformation battle. In 3 years, the dragon transformation battle would begin. The dragon transformation battle would be held in the Nether Sky continent. Those who participated would go to the Nether Sky continent, while the others would go to the Nether Sky continent to watch the battle. After all, this was a battle that only happened once every 10,000 years. Moreover, there were too many double champions this time, surpassing the previous hundreds of thousands of years. Lin Xian brought Murong Qingqing, Yin Ruyu, the Crimson Dragon, and the others into the sword world for them to cultivate. The power inside was also extremely beneficial to them. As for Shun Jingqiu, she left. Shun Jingqiu said that she would not participate in the dragon transformation battle. Instead, she wanted to go to another place to tell Lin Xian not to worry. Where are you going? Do you need me to accompany you? Lin Xian asked. Shun Jingqiu shook her head. Big brother Lin Xian, you can go participate in the dragon transformation battle in peace. You don't have to worry about me. When you participate in the dragon transformation battle, I will come back to find you. All right, be careful. Lin Xian waved goodbye. Shun Jingqiu left. Lin Xian also entered the sword world to cultivate. In the blink of an eye, 3 years had passed. At this moment, the entire buried Emperor Star, and even the entire cosmos, all the people in the myriad worlds, all became excited. They had already started to gather in the Nether Sky continent. Fire Qilin Cave, Great Emperor Clan. Fire Qilin also walked out of the Sea of Flames. His aura was even more terrifying than 3 years ago. He looked into the distance and smiled. Dragon transformation battle? This time, I will definitely take first place. I want to see what kind of treasure the Great Emperor left behind. Although they were from a Great Emperor clan, according to the information they received, the dragon transformation battle was not set up by a single Great Emperor. It was set up by several Great Emperors. Therefore, even Fire Qilin yearned for it. Lin Xian, if I have the chance, I will definitely get rid of you. Fire Qilin's eyes were filled with killing intent. Gu Clan, Starry Sky Palace. It was like the starry sky of the universe, incomparably vast. A man wearing a green robe walked out. It was Gu Feng. At this moment, Gu Feng's aura had also become terrifying. In 3 years, he had also broken through and become a double champion. This greatly increased his confidence. Just you wait. This time, I will definitely make a name for myself. I will let everyone know how powerful I am. The elders of the Yi family frowned. What should they do? Doubtless hadn't come out yet. What's going on? What about Wu Dao? The patriarch of the Yi family walked out. It seemed that it would take even longer than what they had expected. Most likely, they would not be able to participate in the dragon transformation battle. The leader of the Yi clan took a deep breath. Let's not disturb him then. The good fortune left behind by the Yi clan's celestial emperor might allow him to become the Triple Crown champion in one go. Even if he did not participate in the battle of dragon transformation, he could continue to grow stronger. The other members of the Yi clan nodded. They waited patiently. Only some of the elders took the young disciples to the Nether Sky continent to watch the competition. The others stayed here to guard the night dance. Phoenix Clan. Similarly, they gathered together. The leader of the Phoenix Clan said, "Did Qingqing not return?" The elder shook his head. She was still with Lin Wudi. What about Fengjiu? A grand elder walked out and said, Fengjiu had not come out yet. However, her soul jade pendant was not broken. This meant that she was still alive. That's great. The elders clenched their fists tightly. If Fengjiu could come out alive, her strength would reach an unimaginable level. Then they could only wait patiently. At the same time, the leader of the Phoenix clan looked at the old Phoenix. Fourth uncle, you will lead the team to Ba. You can take care of Qingqing. The old Phoenix said, Patriarch, don't worry. I will set off now. On the hidden Emperor Star, the various sovereign lords and the ancient families began to move. Mount Eternal. The great elder's eyes emitted a cold light as he looked at the 10 great emissaries. He said, It's time to show your strength. Go. Don't hold back. Among all of you, one of you must get first place. Great Elder, don't worry. Those people are no match for us. The 10 great emissaries were very confident. The 7th emissary's eyes also emitted a cold light. Last time, he was defeated by Lin Xian. This time, he must take revenge. It wasn't just the hidden Emperor's star. Experts from other worlds also came. Apart from these young geniuses, there were also experts under 5,000 years old, divine ancestors. They would also participate. These people were all gathering towards the Nether Sky continent. The Nether Sky continent was one of the continents on the buried Emperor's star. It had a mysterious power. There was a place on the Nether Sky continent called the Nether Skyland. At this moment, everyone was waiting at the Nether Skyland. Some people were curious. They wondered who was standing behind the dragon transformation station. Although there were treasures left behind by the sovereign lords, who would be the judge? Who would be the judge? They didn't know anything about this. There were a lot of people who came. In the sky, the purple palace's war chariot descended. There were countless experts standing on it. Yao Guang was also among them. He looked around and the corners of his mouth rose. This time, he might be able to let it devour a few more experts. That way, his strength would be even stronger. In addition, he also saw some familiar people, such as Hua Qilin, Kuren Pengzi, Gu Feng, and so on. Of course, there were a few people he didn't see, such as Yi Wudao and Lin Wudi. These people hadn't come yet. He wasn't in a hurry. He believed that they would definitely come. Boom, boom. A terrifying aura appeared between heaven and earth. It was as if heaven and earth were about to be turned upside down. Countless people turned their heads and cried out in alarm. It was the aura of primal chaos. Had the primal chaos race come? Some people shook their heads. Double-crowned King Hun Tian was already dead. Was there anyone else from the primal chaos race who could make a move? Look, it's not the younger generation. It's an expert from the older generation. This time, the primal chaos race had sent a few old divine ancestors. They were very powerful and experienced. However, at this moment, one of the divine ancestors was fighting with someone. The aura of primal chaos on his body was constantly rumbling. The person fighting with him was an old man. The old man's great Tao revolved around his body. It was extremely terrifying. It turned into a sky full of lightning to contend with the old man. The two of them fought while flying. Then, the two of them collided and tore the sky in half. They both retreated to the side. The surrounding people were shocked. Who could fight against the people of the primal chaos race? It was too unbelievable. The aura on his body is so special. It makes me feel terrified. Many people looked over. Someone exclaimed, could it be that he was from the legendary Tao Yi sect? The legendary Tao Yi sect of the Great Tao had actually appeared. Many people were shocked. The old man from the Tao Yi sect laughed. The primal chaos race was only SOSO. They weren't as powerful as they had imagined. Damn it, how dare you underestimate us? The divine ancestor of the primal chaos race shouted angrily. Should they fight again? Their bodies emitted an extremely terrifying light. The elder of the Tao Yi sect said, there was no need. There was no point in fighting now because the primal chaos race had no hope. Your dual-crowned chaos body is already dead. But our Tao Yi sect has a powerful divine body. It's even more terrifying than your primal chaos body. Chapter 53-47. What was the Tao Yi sect's divine physique? Countless people were curious. The Yi family's elders who came to watch the battle narrowed their eyes. Could it be the legendary physique? It couldn't be, right? He actually appeared? The others were even more curious and turned their heads to look. What kind of physique was that? The faces of the people of the chaotic clan became extremely ugly. They exclaimed, could it be that the Tao Yi sect has found a Tao physique? What was a Tao physique? Some young geniuses were puzzled. However, the pupils of the sacred ancestors constricted. Was it the legendary Khanate Tao physique? It was one of the top 10 physiques in the universe. It was a mysterious physique that was as famous as the chaotic physique, and its power was above the 9 young divine physique and the sacred physique. As soon as these words came out, countless people were in an uproar. They had seen the power of the 9 Yang divine physique and the sacred physique. Lin Xian and Yi Wudao were the owners of these 2 physiques. They knew about the chaotic physique. Previously, Hun Tian had the chaotic physique, and he was the double champion. He was one of the top 10 divine physiques. Such a physique was rarely seen in tens of thousands of years. But now, another one of the top 10 divine physiques had appeared. Heavens, this was indeed a golden age. In other times, this kind of physique would be in existence that could sweep across the universe. No one could compare to it. But now, it couldn't, because there were too many genius powerhouses nowadays. For example, Lin Xian could kill the chaotic physique before, so he might be able to contend with the Tao physique now. In addition, another mysterious creature walked out of Mount Eternal with an undying and indestructible physique. It could be said that in this era, there were many powerhouses. Boom! At this moment, a figure walked out from the sky. This figure was extremely hazy, and the great Tao surrounded him like a celestial emperor. After he arrived, the laws on everyone's body were suppressed until they were dim. Heavens! Was this the legendary Tao physique? They raised their heads one after another. In the next moment, they all narrowed their eyes. They couldn't look directly at the other party. The great Tao on the other party's body was too terrifying. The other party was the darling of heaven and earth. They didn't know whether it was a man or woman, young or old. They could only see a hazy figure standing above the 9 heavens. In this era, even Tao physiques had appeared. It was really surprising. 10,000 lightning bolts gathered in the sky, and the Thunder Sovereign walked over. He looked at the Taoist body in the sky with a solemn expression. On the other side, 10,000 flames descended. The beautiful woman burning incense had also arrived. She was also the double champion who had been sleeping for a long time. At this moment, her beautiful eyes looked at the great path figure in the sky, and an extremely terrifying light burst from her eyes. In the Violet Palace realm, Alcade stood up in excitement when he saw the Tao body. That's great. The top 10 physiques in the universe were not weaker than the Primal Chaos physique. They were even stronger. If he could obtain it, then no one would be a match for him. Even the Triple Crown winner might not be able to beat him. The Taoist body in the sky lowered its head when it sensed Yao Guang's gaze. Her eyes shone with a cold light. With a boom, the sky collapsed and the earth cracked. Everyone was shaken to the point that their blood and qi were roiling. Yao Guang's pupils constricted as he unleashed a punch. This fist could shatter everything. It carried an incomparably boundless power and a savage aura. The two of them collided, and the light-shaking realm cultivator was forced to retreat. His arm was numb from the shock. The next moment, his face darkened. The Taoist body in the sky said, "You dare to kill me? Do you want to die early?" This voice was extremely pleasant to the ears. Countless people exclaimed. The Taoist body was actually a woman. Yao Guang snorted coldly. "Sooner or later, I will devour you." Countless people felt their scalps go numb when they heard this. It turned out that Yao Guang wanted the Taoist body again. This guy was really daring. The atmosphere between heaven and earth instantly tensed up. Even the Purple Mansion people frowned. There was a person called Shadow Cultivator on the Purple Mansion side. He was a shadow and was abnormally blurry. He was also a double crown winner. He frowned and said, "Yao Guang, don't cause trouble now. Let's talk after we enter." Yao Guang chuckled and sat down. The terrifying aura disappeared. At this moment, a few more figures walked over from afar. At this moment, everyone felt a wave of fear. The sky kept shattering. The earth cracked. The other double crown winners also turned their heads with serious expressions. They could feel that the double crown winners had arrived, and there was more than one of them. 10 double crown winners lined up in a row. They stood side by side in the void. They were like supreme divine kings. At this moment, they walked forward together. No one could resist this power. The emperor clans also cried out in alarm. Mount Eternal. They had come again. These 10 envoys were indeed double crown winners. They were too shocked. Previously, Mount Eternal had fought a warm-up match with them. That was 3 years ago. At that time, a few envoys had made a move. The others who were ranked at the top didn't seem to have made a move at all. They had guessed. These 10 people could all be double crown winners. However, they didn't have any evidence. Now, it was finally confirmed. These 10 people's auras erupted and swept through the 9 heavens. No one could match them. Some people were in despair. Although there were many Double Crown winners around, they all belonged to different families and sections. It was very difficult for 2 Double Crown winners to appear in a family. The Purple Mansion people were already heaven-defying. However, 10 of them walked out from Mount Eternal, completely surpassing the others. This made everyone feel despair. How could they fight? The people from the Purple Mansion had ugly expressions. Even the people from the Tao 1 sect frowned. Although their Tao bodies were powerful and ranked in the top 10 in the universe, they didn't take anything seriously. However, if they were surrounded by 10 Double Crown winners, they had no chance of winning at all. Could it be that Mount Eternal was going to sweep through everything? The people from Mount Eternal came together. Each of the 10 envoys was wearing black armor that covered everything. The only difference was that the weapons on their backs were different. There were sabers, swords, battle axes, and giant hammers. The 10 of them had an inextinguishable fighting spirit. You are no match for us at all. There is no need to fight the dragon transformation battle. Go back because even if you attack, you are no match for us. The 10th envoy sneered. The 7th envoy also walked out. He looked around. Where was Linwoody? Tell him to come over and die. With a roar, everyone was shocked again. It seemed that the 7th envoy was here for revenge. Had the other party's strength improved greatly in the past 3 years? They also turned their heads to look. Linwoody didn't seem to have come yet. It couldn't be. It was about to start. Was he going to miss it? I think he doesn't dare to come. The 9th envoy also snorted coldly and looked around. He dared to come. We will make him suffer. Everyone's scalps went numb. It seemed that Linwoody was in danger. No matter how strong he was, he couldn't stop 10 Double Crown winners. Chapter 53:48. The power of Mount Eternal made everyone feel despair. Some people even felt that they could go back, because there was no chance of winning even if they went in. Who could defeat the 10 of them if they joined forces? Unless the other double champions joined forces, they would not be able to win. But these people belonged to different sections. Would they be willing to join forces? Don't worry, even if there were 10 double champions, it would be useless because they would be randomly teleported after entering. At this moment, an old voice sounded. Everyone was surprised. Who was it? Did he know the rules of the Dragon Transformation Station? Random teleportation? If that was the case, then there would be no problem. After all, even if 10 people entered, they would be teleported away. This way, they would be fighting for themselves. We still have a chance. Everyone heaved a sigh of relief. The emissary of Mount Eternal frowned. Who set the rules of random teleportation? It was obvious that their advantage was gone. How could they not be angry? A voice came from the sky again. I said it. Do you have any objections? Everyone looked up. In the next moment, their scalps went numb. Even the expressions of those from Mount Eternal changed drastically. They could feel an extremely terrifying aura descending upon them. Not good. Those from the Emperor clan were even more terrified. An extreme aura. Was someone using an extreme weapon? Could it be that someone was setting up a trap? Attracting all the experts and geniuses and then mercilessly killing them with an extreme weapon? The Myriad Dragon's portrait roared, and the Void Mirror was released. The people from the Yi family had ugly expressions. They didn't bring any extreme weapons. Everyone, don't be afraid. I have no ill intentions. The voice in the sky sounded again. Then, everyone saw a black tortoise walk out. This black tortoise was abnormally old. No one knew how long it had lived. Mysterious runes condensed on its back and were engraved on its turtle shell. It made one's soul ache just by looking at it. It was as if one couldn't look directly at it. A black tortoise. Countless people were shocked. This was a legendary divine beast. It was just a black tortoise, but it actually had an extreme aura. What was going on? Could it be the Great Emperor? The final reward of the Dragon Transformation battle was the Great Emperor's treasure. It was very likely that the remnant soul of the Great Emperor had come out to host this competition. On the side of the Fire Chelan cave, an elder exclaimed, "No, you're an extreme weapon." They were too shocked. The others were also shocked. No way, this was an extreme weapon. The mysterious runes on the back of the black tortoise in the sky bloomed with light. He said, "That's right, I am indeed an extreme weapon." The Battle of Dragon Transformation was set up by the joint efforts of the great emperors in order to maintain the legacy of 1,000,000 years. They left their extreme weapons behind. Apart from me, there are a few other extreme Dao weapons. Together, we formed an extreme Dao world. When these words were spoken, quite a few people's eyes turned red, especially those emperor clans. They were even more shocked. A sharp glint flashed in the eyes of the Gu family members. If they could take down the next extreme-grade weapon, wouldn't that mean that they would have one more weapon? The gazes of the people from the Purple Mansion were also burning. The black tortoise in the sky seemed to have sensed these gazes and sneered. I advise you not to attack because the number of extreme Dao weapons we have is not something you can imagine. More importantly, we have a complete artifact spirit, so we can fully awaken at any time. F***CK. The Zifu Mansion Lord's face instantly turned ugly. He no longer dared to have any other thoughts. The Gu family also shook their heads and sighed. The others were even more desperate. If what the other party said was true, then they wouldn't dare to make a move. Because no one could subdue him. Not even the Emperor clans could do it. Moreover, if they angered these extreme Dao weapons, they would probably join forces to destroy the hidden Emperor Star. They might even destroy the 10,000 worlds. Alright, let's talk about the rules. Next, you will enter the Extreme Dao world. There is the might of Extreme Dao there. In other words, you can't bring in Extreme Dao weapons, nor can you use some of the formations left behind by the Emperor. In short, the power of Extreme Dao will be suppressed inside. You can only rely on your own strength to fight. After entering, you will be randomly teleported. Of course, you will appear at the edge of the Extreme Dao world. Your destination will be the center of the Extreme Dao world. There is an Extreme Dao Valley there. Only by entering the Extreme Dao Valley will you have the qualifications to participate in the final battle. The Extreme Dao world will be open for 10 years. In other words, you only have 10 years inside. In the Extreme Dao world, other than the final ranking, there are other opportunities. For example, there are Extreme Dao creatures formed by Extreme Dao aura and Great Dao crystals. Can you obtain them? It depends on your luck. Alright, now the Extreme Dao world can be opened. All those who are prepared to participate, please enter the Extreme Dao world. After the black tortoise finished speaking, he formed a seal with his palms. The mysterious runes behind him blossomed with light, forming an 8 trigram. It kept spinning, blooming with mysterious light. Then, it formed a mysterious door that seemed to be connected to an unknown world. Everyone felt a sense of horror from inside. It indeed had Extreme Dao aura. It should be a world formed by a few Extreme Dao weapons. After entering, they would probably be greatly suppressed. Let's go. Kuan Pengzi soared into the sky. The yin and yang auras condensed behind him, turning into Kuan Peng wings. He instantly rushed into the Extreme Dao door. After him, the others also walked in one after another. Those who entered were all top-notch geniuses, and there were also terrifying sacred ancestors. Although the requirements were very high, countless creatures from all over the heavens and countless worlds gathered together at this moment. The number was also astonishing. Gu Feng, Hua Qilin, Yao Guang, and the others entered one after another. Thunder King and the others also soared into the sky. On Mount Eternal's side, the first emissary said that after entering, they should think of a way to gather. Numbers are our advantage. After we gather, we can sweep the world. Don't worry, big brother. We know. The other emissaries also nodded. They also walked in. Silhouettes entered the extreme path gate one after another, while the others waited there. This was because they knew that when the final battle began, they would be able to see the scene of the final battle from outside. This was a rare battle, so they naturally wouldn't leave. The Yi family members frowned. Why hadn't they seen Lin Gongzi yet? Was he not here yet? Was he going to miss this opportunity? The others were also discussing spiritedly. Where was Lin Xian? At this moment, they turned their heads because they saw a sword light coming from behind. The sword light soared into the sky, and a few figures stood on it. Look, it's Lin Wudi. He really came. The Yi family members heaved a sigh of relief, while the Divine Union members cheered. Many of them came to watch the battle. Lin Gongzi, the Eternal Life Temple Master, hurriedly explained the rules to Lin Xian. Lin Xian nodded after listening. He said to Morong Qingcheng and the others behind him, "Let's go." They instantly entered the extreme Dao realm ahead of them. Chapter 53-49. The world was a little dark, and there were thunderbolts circling in the void. A huge pressure was pressing down. Lin Xian felt that the bones in his body were shaking non-stop. What a terrifying aura. He took a deep breath, and a sharp light burst out from his eyes as he resisted. Fortunately, he had often cultivated in the sword world, so it wasn't that he couldn't adapt to this pressure. At the same time, he was also extremely shocked. Before he came in, he had already received the news. This world was called the Extreme Dao World, and it was formed by the cooperation of several Extreme Dao weapons. The pressure now was the might of the Extreme Dao. Lin Xian was also shocked. He originally thought that the Extreme Dao weapons were all in the hands of the Great Emperor family. Other than the mysterious Emperor weapon in the Purple Mansion, no one else could have them. But now, he actually had so many Extreme Dao weapons. Moreover, they were like living beings that could survive for a long time. This really shocked him. Lin Xian sensed for a moment and found that the heaven-swallowing jar was indeed suppressed here. He couldn't summon it. He couldn't use the Great Dragon Sword Soul either. However, this didn't mean that he couldn't use the power of the Great Dragon Sword Soul. The Great Dragon Sword Soul had long merged with it. His every move carried an indestructible power, and his attack power far exceeded that of others. It was just that he couldn't use it like an Extreme Dao weapon. Although he couldn't use the power of the Extreme Dao, Lin Xian wasn't worried. He couldn't use it, and neither could anyone else. He only needed to be careful not to be surrounded by the 10 people from Mount Eternal. He wouldn't be in too much danger. Thinking of this, Lin Xian's eyes burst out with a cold light. This time, he had to get first place. Behind the Extreme Dao world, there must be a few great emperors working together. I wonder what these great emperors will leave behind. Lin Xian looked around. There was no one around. He didn't know how big the Extreme Dao world was. Everyone was teleported away. At this moment, he was alone. Taking a deep breath, Lin Xian walked forward. There was a mountain peak in front of him, and it was also incomparably quiet. The aura inside the mountain peak was somewhat gloomy. After he walked up, he didn't dare to be careless. Suddenly, a leopard charged out from the front. It was extremely fast, and with a swipe of its sharp claws, it tore apart heaven and earth. Lin Xian was surprised. He realized that the leopard looked too ordinary, like an ordinary wild beast. If they were outside, no one would pay attention to them. However, the claw's power wasn't inferior to a peak-level saint. He snorted coldly, opened his Rinnegan, and immediately controlled the leopard's soul. The leopard stopped in midair and fell to the ground. The next moment, he crawled to Lin Xian's side. Lin Xian narrowed his eyes and probed the other party's soul. However, he discovered that the leopard's soul didn't seem to have much information. The other party only lived within the mountain range and had no idea what was going on outside the mountain range. What a strange world. From the looks of it, these should be demonic beasts specially made for extreme weapons. This made him even more shocked. This method was too strange. Moreover, this was only the edge of the Extreme Dao world. These demonic beasts all had the strength of a saint. If one were to head deeper, one would see how terrifying those demonic beasts would be. There would probably be a lot of saint ancestor-level demonic beasts. If they appeared in groups, he would probably run away automatically. However, he still had some gains because there was something he wanted in this mountain range. Great Dao Crystal. Come, bring me there. Lin Xian sat on the leopard. The leopard brought him to search. It turned into a bolt of lightning and was very fast. They shuttled through the mountain forest. Not long after, Lin Xian heard the sound of fighting ahead. There was a sky-piercing sound. The shocking Dao light was incomparably terrifying as it pierced through heaven and earth. It was obvious that someone was fighting. The other person was using the extremely terrifying law of water. Monstrous waves swept in all directions. These were two saint ancestors, a young man and an old man. It was obvious that one was a genius and the other was an expert of the older generation. Lin Xian didn't know these two people. After all, the participants of the competition this time were worlds with billions of stars. It was impossible for Lin Xian to know both of them. The one who used the monstrous waves was an old man wearing sea armor. He stood in the sea, riding the wind and waves with infinite power. He laughed loudly. "Young man, you want to compete with me? You're overestimating yourself. My 3,000-week water can sweep through everything. When I swept through the world back then, your grandfather wasn't even born yet." On the opposite side, a man was surrounded by saber light with earth-shattering power. His expression was solemn. "Old thing, you're old. This is a world that belongs to the young." He slashed out with his saber, and his power was incomparably majestic with an extremely terrifying aura. It made one's soul tremble. The battle between the two was earth-shattering. However, in the end, the old man was more skilled. He used the 3,000-week water to injure the young saber saint. The saber saint vomited blood and flew backward. He tore through the void and disappeared. "Humph, young people can't do it." Sacred Lord Ruoxue sneered and walked forward. There was a fist-sized crystal there. It was a great Tao crystal with an extreme Tao aura on it. It was formed in the extreme Tao world and contained the mysterious power of the great Tao. It could improve their laws. Perhaps they could even feel a trace of power that surpassed the saint realm. Sacred Lord Ruoxue laughed out loud and grabbed forward. However, at this moment, his pupils suddenly constricted. His body swayed and he dodged. At the place where he was originally standing, a sword chi cut through the sky. "Who is it?" Sacred Lord Ruoxue roared angrily. His eyes were cold. He slapped out with his palm. It was like a sea of death that tore apart the forest behind him. "Another young man. How dare you sneak attack me? Do you want to die? Break your arms and disappear from my sight. I'll spare your life." The old man shouted coldly. The one who rushed over was naturally Lin Xian. He sat on the leopard and narrowed his eyes. He ignored the old man and stared at the stone in front of him. "Is this the great Tao crystal? It's indeed mysterious. I can feel that it's very useful to my laws." Lin Xian waved his hand. A sword chi swept out and swept towards the great Tao crystal in front of him. He wanted to envelop it. "You're courting death." Sacred Lord Ruoxue roared angrily. "How dare you snatch something that I want?" Just now, there was a young man who thought that he was a top prodigy. He didn't take me seriously, but in the end, he was easily injured by me. I didn't kill him because I was in a good mood. However, kid, you've angered me. I've decided to send you to hell today." Sacred Lord Ruoxue turned around. His eyes were filled with terrifying killing intent. Lin Xian had a strange expression. "You don't know me? It seems that you're not the Sacred Lord of the Hidden Emperor planet." He shook his head and sighed. If the people on the Hidden Emperor planet couldn't see him, he would have immediately fled. Sacred Lord Ruoxue snorted coldly. "Are you very famous? I don't need to know someone who's about to die." Chapter 5350. The 3,000-week water transformed into a terrifying palm, blotting out the sky and covering the earth. Previously, it was this attack that defeated the young sword saint. Now, Holy Lord Ruoxue wanted to use this move to attack Lin Xian. Facing such a terrifying attack, Lin Xian didn't dodge at all. He took a step forward, and the 9 suns' divine fire on his body swept out. There were a few illusions of suns around him, and the terrifying flames burned everything. The drops of water near it were all burned, evaporating into clouds and spreading in all directions. How was that possible? Elder Ruoxue was stunned. Did his attack disappear before it even reached his opponent? What kind of flame was that? It was too terrifying. Lin Xian looked at him and shook his head slightly. "Is this your strength? Too weak." As he spoke, he used his finger like a sword and swung it. The Azura sword technique killed in one move. The seawater around Holy Lord Ruoxue was split apart. His forehead split open, and he fell on his back. His body was split into 2 halves. Holy blood dyed the 9 heavens red. A soul escaped in fear and fled into the distance. However, in the next moment, he found that there was an extremely terrifying power around him. The power of reincarnation. An eye floated above his head, causing his soul to kneel on the ground in fear. Stop. I don't want the Tao crystal anymore. Please let me go. He was really too scared. He didn't expect the young man in front of him to be so powerful. He didn't have the strength to fight back in front of him. Is he really just a young man? Holy Lord Ruoxue couldn't believe it. Lin Xian snorted coldly. He continued to use his Rinnegan, and the fire of reincarnation fell. It caused the other party's soul to disappear. Holy Lord Ruoxue died. Until his death, he didn't believe that he would be killed so easily. He kept the other party's storage ring. Lin Xian waved his hand and grabbed the Tao crystal. Feeling the mysterious power, Lin Xian began to comprehend it. The people outside were still waiting. Suddenly, a roar sounded. Damn it! The others turned their heads. Are those people from Ruoxue Holy Temple? What happened to them? The faces of the people from Ruoxue Sacred Hall turned ugly. A soul jade tablet in their hands cracked, indicating that one of their elders had fallen. Damn it! How long has it been since he entered, and he's already fallen? Who was it that did it? Don't let me find out who you are, otherwise, I won't let you off. In the extreme Tao world, Lin Xian continued on his way. Arriving at the edge of the forest, the leopard crouched down, not daring to walk any further. There seemed to be some kind of power that made him fearful. Lin Xian also sighed. Although he had used his soul to control the other party, this was still the extreme Tao world. The might of the extreme Tao affected the other party. Lin Xian waved his hand. Forget it, you can go back. Lin Xian nodded to Yi Rou and then said, Why don't you go over? Yi Rou said to Lin Gongzi. This sea was too strange. Once above it, all the laws would disappear, and people would fall into the sea. Previously, 2 top geniuses had already fallen in and never came out again. It was so strange. Lin Xian frowned. He waved his hand, and the sword chi formed a clone and flew forward. As soon as it arrived above the sea, it instantly sank into the river. Lin Xian narrowed his eyes. The surrounding people also shook their heads and sighed. They originally thought that the person who came was an expert, but now it seemed that he couldn't do it. The other party couldn't do anything. They didn't have much hope. Lin Gongzi, do you have any ideas? Yi Rou asked. Lin Xian opened his right Rinnegan and looked forward. He found that there was an extremely mysterious power in the sea. This power could make the laws disappear. This was also the reason why the sages couldn't pass. It was indeed mysterious. It was Lin Xian's first time seeing this kind of power. As expected of the extreme Tao world, he didn't know which extreme Tao weapon created this power. However, through Lin Xian's Rinnegan, he could see that this seemed to be the power of an array. Fairy, I think you shouldn't have any hope. He can't pass at all. A man next to her said coldly. The other person also said, Why don't we join forces? Maybe we have a chance. The two of them looked at Yi Rou, and the corners of their mouths rose, revealing handsome smiles. Yi Rou was the proud daughter of the great emperor family. If they could walk together with her, then they would be able to obtain the resources of the great emperor family. Chapter 53-51. However, they were destined to be disappointed because Yi Rou didn't care about them at all. She looked at Lin Xian with her beautiful eyes. Damn it, was she looking down on them? The 2 handsome geniuses beside her were instantly furious. Could it be that the 2 of them couldn't compare to the other party? They stared at Lin Xian with unkind expressions. Soon, they sneered. They wanted to see how the other party was going to cross the sea of bitterness. Maybe they didn't need to do anything. The other party would die in the sea of bitterness. Lin Xian took a deep breath, and his right Rinnegan released a terrifying light. Reincarnation, tunnel. The ground cracked open, and a palm appeared, carrying him forward. After coming up, Lin Xian waved his hand and brought Yi Rou up as well. The 2 of them flew towards the sea of bitterness. At this moment, the surrounding people were all focused on the other party. Could he succeed? The 2 handsome geniuses sneered. They didn't believe it. But soon, They were dumbfounded because they found that the hand had entered the sea of bitterness and still hadn't disappeared. After flying with Lin Xian, they finally crossed the sea of bitterness. No way. Am I dreaming? He actually crossed the sea of bitterness. Heavens, how did he do it? What was that hand of earth? How could he be so powerful? Countless discussions could be heard. No wonder Yiro trusted him so much. It turned out that he was a terrifying expert. After the two handsome geniuses heard this, their faces became extremely ugly. Although the other party didn't attack them, it was a slap to their faces. Damn it, I don't believe it. The power of the sea of bitterness must have disappeared. Among them, a man in purple robes roared. He soared into the sky, and under his feet, a purple auspicious cloud quickly flew away. He instantly arrived above the sea of bitterness. No, he suddenly roared crazily because he found that the power of the cloud under his feet had disappeared. The laws on his body were also gone. He fell into the sea of bitterness and then disappeared. The other people's scalps went numb. It wasn't that the power of the sea of bitterness disappeared, but that they weren't strong enough to cross the sea of bitterness. The other man in blue was terrified. He didn't have the courage to try again, but he was unwilling. Young Master Lin, who was he? What did you say? His surname is Lin. What does he look like? At this moment, a voice came from behind. Everyone looked over, but there was nothing there. The void in front of them cracked open, and a man in a starry robe appeared. He stood in the void like a god of the void. Who are you? The blue-clothed man shouted angrily. A terrifying light flickered in his hand. Let me ask you, was Lin Wudi here before? Hearing this, the surrounding people were stunned. However, Gu Feng waved his hand, and a starry sky hand suddenly appeared, grabbing the blue-clothed man. The blue-robed man shouted angrily. Sword chi surged from his body. He was also a young tycoon, but he had no power to fight back in front of the other party. Not long after, he was suppressed. Then, ancient wind searched his soul. Very soon, a cold light erupted from his eyes. Lin Wudi, it really is you. With a roar, he charged forward. In an instant, he arrived at the sea of bitterness. In the next moment, when he felt the power of this sea, his expression changed. However, he soon sneered and used the greater void teleportation. With a roar, he completely disappeared. When he reappeared, he had already passed through the sea of bitterness. How terrifying. The others were also shocked. This was also an expert. Someone said that he used the power of the void. He should be Gu Feng of the Gu family. Gu Feng was also an incomparably terrifying genius. It was said that he was already a double crown king. They could only look up to such a person. No, wait. Who was this Lin Wudi that Gu Feng mentioned? Don't you know? He was an existence who swept across the world and killed Hun Tian. He was an existence who could kill the double crown king. So powerful. After hearing this, the blue-clothed man knelt on the ground in fear. Did he dare to challenge such a person before? At this moment, he didn't have the mood to continue. He wanted to go home, go back to his family and never come out again. Why were there so many heaven-defying experts here? On the other side of the sea of bitterness, the hand of earth under Lin Xian's feet disappeared. He looked at Yi Ro who was beside him and said, "All right, go and find your opportunity." Yi Ro nodded. Many thanks to Lin Gongzi. She looked at Lin Xian with incomparable gratitude. Then, he turned around and soared into the air. Lin Xian went on his way again. A Rinnegan appeared above his head, constantly looking around. What he used was heavenly Tao reincarnation. Next, he found 3 more great Tao crystals. Comprehending and cultivating, Lin Xian felt that his great Tao power was also slowly increasing. Apart from Lin Xian, the others were also frantically collecting great Tao crystals. Between heaven and earth, lightning still lingered. The Thunder King swept in all directions. There were 2 demonic beasts in front of him. These 2 demonic beasts were also surrounded by the power of extreme Tao. They were very terrifying. But the Thunder King was also incomparably terrifying. After a great battle, he killed the 2 demonic beasts. He obtained 2 great Tao crystals. On the other side, Gu Feng looked for Lin Xian but couldn't find him. His expression was gloomy, but he also found 2 great Tao crystals. He clenched his fists and raised his spatial law with all his might. He even used his spatial great divine ability, turning all of the void within tens of millions of miles into his avatar. The spatial avatar went to search for great Tao crystals together. Chapter 53-52. There was a canyon in front of them. There were many people standing in the canyon, and they were divided into 2 sides. One side had 9 people while the other side only had 1 person. However, this 1 person suppressed the 9 of them. Out of the 9 people, 3 of them were injured. At this moment, their faces were extremely ugly. Looking at the man in battle armor in front of them, their eyes were filled with fear. The person in battle armor was the 10th emissary of Mount Eternal. He sneered, "You guys are really trash. Now, all of you should obediently get out of this world. Otherwise, I'll make you guys die without a burial ground." Damn it. Why? The people on the other side roared crazily. The 10th emissary sneered, "Because I'm stronger than you guys. None of you are my match." Although these 9 people weren't from the same family or sect, they were all from the hidden Emperor planet and knew each other. One of them was Hua Longnu. Hua Longnu frowned and said, "The 10 emissaries of Mount Eternal are very terrifying. We can't beat them. Let's quickly leave. If necessary, we can give up on the great Tao crystal." Hearing this, the surrounding people frowned. Someone said, "Aren't you overestimating the morale of others and destroying your own prestige?" Another woman also said, "We're not his match in a one-on-one battle. However, with so many of us working together, can't we beat him? If you're afraid, then run." That woman said to the surrounding people, "Everyone, let's work together." She was a woman from the Wind Clan. She couldn't be considered a young genius, but a middle-aged one. At this moment, Tian stood up and worked together with the others. Hua Longnu sighed when she saw this scene. Others didn't know the strength of Mount Eternal, but she knew. She was from the Divine Union. Lin Xian had specifically told her before coming. It was best not to fight with people from Mount Eternal, because they were all Double Crown champions. However, no matter what Hua Longnu said, the surrounding people didn't listen. Hua Longnu had no choice but to retreat. If necessary, she would leave on her own. The sacred master of the Wind Clan was anxious. As for the others, the 3 injured ones also stood up. The 8 of them prepared to attack the 10th emissary together. The 10th emissary sneered, "Do you think you're my match by working together? How naive. Since you aren't willing to submit, then die." In the next instant, a terrifying power erupted from his body like a boundless sea. The 9 heavens, 10 earths were shattered. The Wind Clan's people's pupils shrank. Not good, they quickly retreated. However, it was too late. The 10th envoy took out a battle hammer and threw it forward. In an instant, the 8 people were sent flying. The 3 injured people in front instantly turned into a bloody mist. The bodies of the others also split apart. The scene was extremely shocking. 8 divine ancestors were unable to defeat the 10th emissary. The people of Mount Eternal were truly too terrifying. When Fire Dragon Lady saw this, her face turned pale. She shook her head and sighed. Previously, she didn't really believe that the people of Mount Eternal were powerful, but Lin Xian had warned her. She trusted Lin Xian unconditionally, so she was glad that she didn't make a move. On the other hand, his men had gone mad and became terrified. Damn it! Why is he so powerful? Run! The woman from the Wind Clan was the first to escape, but in the next moment, a black hand pressed down from the sky. She was sent flying. Her expression became terrified. "No! Save me!" However, the others were also desperately trying to escape. No one would save her. In the next moment, she was killed by the battle hammer. The others were also terrified. The Wind Clan's divine ancestor was also extremely terrifying, but she still couldn't block the other party's attack. Not only that, the surrounding people realized that the world had been sealed by the inextinguishable battle intent. They couldn't escape at all. Even Fire Dragon Lady's expression changed. She realized that she couldn't escape either. At this moment, the 10th envoy looked at her. What a beautiful woman! As he said that, he grabbed out with his palm. The black palm carried terrifying power. Fire Dragon Lady also roared angrily and struck out with monstrous flames. However, she was no match for the other party. She was forced back and vomited blood. In the next moment, her face turned pale. The palm enveloped her. At this critical moment, a sword chi suddenly rushed out of Fire Dragon Lady's body. The sword chi was like a giant dragon, blasting the big black hand away. The 10th envoy withdrew his palm. His palm split open and there was a crack on it. In the next moment, his face turned completely cold. Do you want to die? At the same time, he was surprised that the other party had such power in her body. This wasn't her power. The surrounding people were also stunned. They looked at Fire Dragon Lady as though they saw hope. Someone said, "Fire Dragon Lady, please save our lives. We are willing to give you our treasures." Someone else shouted, "She is indeed a genius of the Divine Union. She is indeed strong." "Are you from the Divine Union?" The 10th envoy's face turned cold. He had naturally heard of the Divine Union because it was an alliance created by Lin Wudy. Was she one of Lin Wudy's people? Thinking of Lin Wudy, a cold, murderous intent appeared in his eyes. Lin Wudy had injured them and even stolen their limelight. His eyes shone brightly. "So you are one of Lin Wudy's people. Then I will capture you." Lin Wudy dares to go against Mount Eternal. Everyone related to him must die. He took a step forward and the murderous intent on his body became even more terrifying. Fire Dragon Lady's face turned ugly. In the face of such an attack, Lin Xian should have used his powerful swordsmanship to counter it. However, Lin Xian didn't. Instead, he stood there with his hands behind his back. Was the other party going to give up resisting? The 10th emissary laughed maniacally. It seemed that he had thought too highly of the other party. In the face of his strongest attack, his opponent seemed to have no power to resist. Thinking of this, he laughed maniacally and attacked with the battle god. "Young master, be careful." Behind him, Fire Dragon exclaimed. Lin Xian smiled. It didn't matter. He couldn't hurt him. Lin Xian didn't use his swordsmanship, but it didn't mean that he had given up attacking. An extremely terrifying light burst out from his eyes. Reincarnation, heavenly path. A Rinnegan appeared in the sky and looked down. At this moment, everyone's soul felt a huge suppression. The 10th emissary's pupil shrank. Not good. He was careless. He thought that Lin Xian didn't use his swordsmanship because he was afraid. He didn't expect that the other party would use his soul pupil technique. In a panic, he tried to block it. However, how could he block the Rinnegan's heavenly path? It was too terrifying. In an instant, it pierced through his soul, and his huge body stopped. Then, he fell to the ground on his back. His aura rapidly weakened. The onlookers were stunned. He was dead. He was killed in one glance. They trembled in fear. That was the 10th emissary. What a powerful and terrifying double champion. But now he was killed by Lin Xian. What kind of eyes were those? It was too terrifying. The 10th emissary felt that his soul was about to scatter. No. With fear in his eyes, he roared uneasily. At this moment, a talisman paper appeared between his eyebrows and enveloped him. In the next moment, the talisman paper disappeared. Was he dead? Everyone was shocked. However, Lin Xian's brows were tightly knitted together. No, the other party had escaped. His reincarnation gaze pierced through heaven and earth, but he found that the other party seemed to have really escaped. He left this world. Outside the extreme path world, in the secluded heaven, those powerhouses were waiting. Suddenly, they found that the void cracked open, and a figure fell down. What was going on? Someone came out. It shouldn't be. Who was it? They had never heard of anyone who could come out of the extreme path world. They looked over one after another. In the next moment, they exclaimed because it was the 10th emissary of Mount Eternal. After the 10th emissary came out, he roared to the sky. "Damn it, Lin Wudy, I will never let you go." What? Lin Wudy did it? He eliminated the 10th emissary. Countless exclamations sounded, and the people of the Emperor clan also frowned. Even if he was eliminated, He was still dead. How could the other party come out? The first elder of Mount Eternal's expression changed. Damn it, what was going on? Did you use all the talismans? He knew that the 10 emissaries had the human sovereign between their eyebrows. It was something left for them to save their lives. Now that the other party was teleported out, it was very likely that he had used his final trump card. The 10th emissary gritted his teeth and was unwilling to accept this. There was nothing he could do. He was almost killed. The first elder of Mount Eternal's pupils constricted. Was Lin Wuti already so terrifying? The 10th emissary said that he was careless and was ambushed by him. Otherwise, he would never have been defeated. Although he said that, he still felt terrified. That glance just now made him feel as if he was facing a god. The others were also shocked. Lin Wuti was inside. Had his strength increased again? It seemed that he had easily defeated the 10th emissary. They didn't know how powerful he was now. The first elder of Mount Eternal also gritted his teeth. Don't worry, he wouldn't continue to be arrogant. Although the 10th emissary was defeated, they still had 9 people. Especially the first 3 emissaries, they were very terrifying. Lin Wuti definitely couldn't contend against them. Inside the extreme path realm, the surrounding people were still in a dream state. They didn't expect that the danger would be resolved just like that. Young master, are you all right? Behind him, Fire Dragon Girl ran over with a face full of concern. Lin Xian smiled and said, "He can't hurt me." As he spoke, Lin Xian sent out another sword chi into Fire Dragon Girl's body. You have to be careful in the future. Fire Dragon Girl nodded. She wanted to follow Lin Xian. However, Lin Xian said that everyone had their own opportunities. You have to find them yourself. All right, I understand. Fire Dragon Girl was a little disappointed, but she also knew that Lin Xian was doing this for her own good. Along the way, she was like a flower growing in a greenhouse. In the end, she had to take charge. Lin Xian's figure flashed and floated away, leaving the others behind. Those people hurriedly bowed towards the void. They were incomparably grateful. Thank you, Lin Gongzi, for saving them. Chapter 53-54. On Lin Xian's side, he killed the 10th emissary in one glance and left, shocking countless people. In another mountain range, a great battle was also taking place. However, there were no spectators at this moment. However, this battle was also very terrifying. One of the 2 sides of the battle was the terrifying 8th emissary in armor. The other person was a figure surrounded by multicolored light. She was as mysterious as a god. She was the born Taoism aptitude. The 8th emissary held a pagoda in his hand. It kept growing bigger and bigger, sweeping in all directions. However, the born Taoism aptitude was even more terrifying. He directly pushed back the 8th emissary with one palm, as if he was invincible. Damn it! The 8th emissary roared crazily. He was also extremely shocked. He didn't expect the other party's strength to be so strong. It was completely beyond his imagination. I don't believe that I will lose. As a powerhouse from Mount Eternal, he couldn't bear it. He crazily attacked again. The 2 collided, and the sound of the sky falling and the earth cracking rang out. The surroundings were shattered. One could imagine how terrifying this power was. However, what was even more shocking was that the born Taoism aptitude was not injured at all. He resisted this black pagoda with his bare hands. Not only that, his palms formed a divine seal and sent the pagoda flying with one palm. The 8th emissary also spat out blood and flew backward. A crack appeared on his body. How was this possible? This Tao seal made him feel terrified. It pierced through his body. He used the power of immortality and recovered his body, but he didn't continue to fight. Now, the other party was so terrifying just by relying on the strength of his body. If the other party used any weapons, he was no match at all. Taoism aptitude, just you wait. There are many experts in Mount Eternal. One day, I will kill you. He ran very fast. However, the born Taoism aptitude rose into the air, formed a seal with her hands, and attacked 3 times in a row. The 8th emissary's body was torn apart and turned into a bloody mist. He was enveloped by the pagoda and fled in panic. He was seriously injured. The born Taoism aptitude stood in the void and watched the scene of him fleeing. She didn't attack again. The other party was no match for her at all. She didn't care at all. After beating the other party away, the born Taoism aptitude once again searched for the great path. On the other side, Lin Xian set off once again. He was prepared to cross the sea of bitterness once again. Although his strength had increased compared to before, he was not satisfied. His goal was to win the Triple Crown. However, from the looks of it, he was still a long way away from the Triple Crown. In that case, he would have to increase his cultivation first. Lin Xian wanted to reach the saint level. In this way, his strength would also undergo a tremendous change. As he thought of this, Lin Xian hurriedly searched for great Tao crystals. The power of reincarnation in his eyes swept out, and he finally found another sea of bitterness. The sea of bitterness was boundless. This time, the power of the sea of bitterness seemed to be even more terrifying than before. Lin Xian used reincarnation and said. The hand of reincarnation started to shake violently. He shouted coldly, and the eye of reincarnation shone brightly once again. The phantoms of the 6 worlds appeared, and he instantly left the sea of sufferings like a meteor. At this moment, 3 figures approached from behind. A woman, a middle-aged man, and an old man. The woman was dressed in green. She looked forward and rubbed her eyes. It can't be, right? I didn't see wrongly, right? Just now, a figure seemed to have crossed the sea of bitterness. The middle-aged man beside her shook his head. How was that possible? The sea of bitterness was boundless. When we crossed the first sea of bitterness, it was already so difficult. Who could cross it so easily? You must have seen wrongly. The woman shook her head. I did see it. She looked at the old man again. The old man narrowed his eyes and said, could it be that the power of this sea of bitterness was not as strong as before? Let me test it out. He was also a terrifying divine ancestor. He happened to be 5,000 years old this year and could participate. His strength could be said to be very terrifying. With a stomp of his foot, he instantly arrived above the sea of bitterness like a phantom. But in the next moment, he screamed and retreated. His expression became terrified. Damn it! The power of this sea of bitterness was even more terrifying than the first one. No one could cross it easily. The woman in green's face also changed. She knew how terrifying this old man's strength was. Even he suffered a loss, which meant that no one could cross it easily. But she clearly saw it just now. Could it be that she was really seeing wrongly? The woman in green could only shake her head helplessly. Other than Lin Xian, some experts also started to cross the second sea of bitterness. For example, the fire Qilin had crossed the second sea of bitterness. At this moment, he came to a mountain range, and there was a demonic beast in front of him. It was an eagle, a black eagle. It spread its wings and floated in midair. It roared and tore the 9 heavens with its sharp claws. The fire Qilin roared and turned into a Qilin. It was as if a god was burning the 9 heavens as it fought against the eagle. The 2 of them exchanged 5 moves. The fire Qilin was forced back and his blood was boiling. How was that possible? How could this eagle be so terrifying? No, there was a mysterious rune between the eagle's brows. It was an extreme Tao rune. It was completely different from the demonic beasts he had encountered before. Chapter 53-55. Lin Xian continued to search for Tao crystals. This time, he found 2 at a time. This made him very happy. At this moment, an angry shout came from afar. Put them down. Several figures flew over from behind and in front of him. The auras of these 4 figures were very terrifying. They were the 4 older generation sacred ancestors. They shouted angrily, "Get lost, young man!" One of them waved his sleeve, bringing about a monstrous storm. Lin Xian slashed out with his sword, tearing the storm apart. In the next moment, he picked up the 2 Tao crystals. Damn it! The 4 sacred ancestors shouted crazily, but Lin Xian's lips curled up into a smile. He threw the great Tao crystal into the 9 heavens. Good boy, you're honest. The 4 of them charged into the sky. Get lost. The 2 of them fought a monstrous storm, and the other two also shouted angrily. The two sides fought. They didn't know what was good for them. Lin Xian sneered. He stood with his hands behind his back and didn't leave, because he felt that there was a terrifying demonic beast lurking in the surroundings. A cloud condensed in the sky, then turned into a huge cloud hand, and fell from the sky. With a boom, the two sacred ancestors were instantly blasted into a bloody mist. The other two also vomited blood and flew backward. They were torn apart. Damn it, what kind of demonic beast was this? The two injured sacred ancestors were terrified. They recovered their bodies, and their faces were full of shock, because they found that the other two sacred ancestors had already been killed. It killed two sacred ancestors with a claw. This demonic beast was too terrifying. Even Lin Xian's brows were tightly knitted together. So powerful. He found that this was also beyond his expectations. Roar. The cloud turned into a demonic beast, roared at the sky, and swallowed the two Dao crystals in an instant. Then, he narrowed his eyes. Lin Xian's face darkened. After spitting it out, he punched toward the sky. It seemed to have turned into a golden crow, sweeping through heaven and earth, and blasted toward the cloud beast. The cloud beast was hit, and clouds spread out from its body. In the next moment, it was angry, and it roared at the sky. Lin Xian, however, sent out even more golden crows to attack. Not good. Does this guy want to die? Don't drag us along. As for the other two who were injured, they recovered and turned around to flee. But it was too late. The cloud mist beast looked up at the sky and waved its sharp claws, tearing the two who were running away into pieces. Then, he clawed at Lin Xian. Lin Xian roared furiously as he fought back. With a boom, he was blasted back. What terrifying claws! The light of reincarnation appeared in Lin Xian's eyes as he observed carefully. The flowing cloud beast did not have a fixed shape, but it did have a pair of eyes. Above the eye, there was a mysterious rune that carried an extremely powerful aura. How terrifying! This was completely different from the demonic beasts he had encountered before. The other party contained an enormous amount of power. No wonder he was so terrifying that he could kill 4 sacred ancestors so easily. The flowing cloud beast was even more shocked. Sacred masters were like ants in his eyes. However, the young man in front of him didn't die. He wasn't even injured. He was even more shocked. At the same time, it also angered him. He rode on a cloud and charged down. Lin Xian soared into the sky and charged towards the 9 heavens. 9 stars appeared behind him and kept spinning. 9-star sword technique. 1 star after another shot into the sky and fought with the cloud mist beast. The cloud mist beast's body was pierced, but it was not injured at all. However, its attack could threaten Lin Xian. Lin Xian's face was cold. He used the invincible power of the dragon. The sword chi became extremely sharp. This time, it pierced through the flowing cloud beast's body. The flowing cloud beast also felt pain. It roared crazily, and its eyes instantly turned red. The rune between its eyebrows kept spinning, and an extremely powerful aura spread out. It roared at the sky, and a terrifying murderous aura pierced through heaven and earth. Its entire body charged over. At this moment, even the people and demonic beasts in the distance were so scared that they all prostrated on the ground. They looked into the distance in horror. What was happening there? Lin Xian also roared and used the sword chi to the extreme. Now, only the invincible power could restrain the other party. Otherwise, the other party's extreme aura would be too much of a threat to him. Cracks appeared on the 9 yang divine body. Lin Xian used the Tai Chi diagram to envelop his body. At the same time, his sword chi was wide open. After a great battle, heaven and earth shattered as if it was the end of the world. No one dared to come in the surrounding thousands of miles. Although the great dragon sword soul could not be used, Lin Xian could use its power. Every sword chi was extremely sharp, and it caused the cloud mist beast to be severely injured. It let out a terrified roar. After hundreds of moves, it fled in despair. Trying to escape? Lin Xian roared angrily. He would not give the other party a chance. He felt an extremely powerful extreme aura from the other party. If he could devour this power, it would greatly improve his laws and cultivation. In this way, he would be one step closer to the great sage realm. Reincarnation Heavenly Tao. In the sky, a pair of godlike eyes appeared. A palm stretched out from his eyes and descended from the sky. The hand of the sky. Boom. The cloud mist beast's body was sent flying as it let out a painful roar. The sword chi on Lin Xian's body continued to rush out. It was like 10,000 swords returning to their origin. He turned into a yin-yang diagram and rotated in the sky. The yin-yang energy turned into yin-yang swords and continued to descend. Reincarnation Tao. Lin Xian attacked again. The ground cracked open, and endless reincarnation energy turned into the gate of reincarnation. It was as if it was going to swallow the cloud mist beast. In the end, the cloud mist beast screamed and was killed. The extreme path rune on his glabella slowly disappeared, and a terrifying extreme path chi swept out in all directions. Lin Xian was overjoyed. He waved his sleeve and collected all the extreme aura. At the same time, he opened the sword world. He would not allow any of them to escape. Those people in the distance looked up at the sky and saw streaks of extreme aura appearing one after another in the sky. Every one of them made people jealous. This was a power even more terrifying than the Tao crystal. Go quickly. In an instant, more than a dozen figures rose into the sky and flew towards the extreme aura. But when they were halfway there, they realized that the 7 extreme auras had all disappeared. Were they taken away by someone? They were unwilling. They flew quickly. Lin Xian sensed that someone was coming. He took out the Hellfire Dragon Sword and swung it with both hands. This attack had the power to sweep the world. Get lost. Half of the people were sent flying by this sword. The others were forced back by that shocking roar. What kind of expert was this? Their scalps went numb, and they did not dare to go forward. Lin Xian rose into the air and stood above the 9 heavens as he said coldly, "You want to compete with me for the treasure?" Those people looked up at the sky. When they saw that it was Lin Xian, their scalps went numb. They all shook their heads. Lin Gongzi misunderstood. After saying that, they turned around and fled. Damn it, it was actually Lin Wudi. They did not dare to compete with such a person. Chapter 53-56. Lin Xian left this place and came to a safe place. He went into seclusion and began to cultivate. After entering the sword world, Lin Xian began to absorb the 7 extreme Dao Qi with all his might. A year later, Lin Xian finished absorbing all the extreme Dao Qi. His eyes erupted with an intense light. His cultivation had increased a lot compared to before. However, Lin Xian clenched his fists. He felt that it was not enough. If he could kill another demon beast with an extreme Dao rune, then Lin Xian would be able to break through to the Saint Lord realm. Such a demon beast was extremely rare and difficult to find. More importantly, such a demon beast was extremely terrifying. Even Lin Xian had to use all sorts of methods to kill it. Following that, Lin Xian began to search for such a demon beast. After more than a year, Lin Xian finally found a second demon beast with an extreme Dao rune. This demon beast was a shark in the Sea of Bitterness. The Sea of Bitterness was already extremely terrifying. Once one entered the Sea of Bitterness, their power and laws would disappear, let alone fighting in the Sea of Bitterness. Lin Xian used the reincarnation path and used the power of reincarnation to resist the power of the Sea of Bitterness. In the next moment, he stretched out a large hand. The large golden hand carried boundless flames and directly pulled the shark out. He threw it into the 9 heavens. Lin Xian charged over. The shark roared crazily. There was an extreme Dao rune between his brows. The extreme Dao aura on his body was incomparably terrifying. He was the overlord here. No one was his match. But now, someone actually dared to challenge him. He could not tolerate it. "Ant, you dare to challenge me? Do you want to die?" It opened its mouth and spat out seawater that filled the sky. It turned into a terrifying light that pierced through heaven and earth. Lin Xian roared angrily and unleashed all of his firepower to engage in a great battle. Yin-yang diagram, Rinnegan, all sorts of sword chi, as well as a powerful divine body, constantly attacked. The shark was forced to retreat. Kill. For a moment, it could not return to the sea of bitterness. It roared crazily. He was enraged to the extreme, and the extreme path rune between his eyebrows suddenly erupted. He turned into a bolt of lightning and rushed over, crashing into Lin Xian. Half of Lin Xian's body was shattered, but he seized the opportunity and pierced his opponent with his sword. At the same time, Rinnegan crazily attacked the opponent's soul. It was a difficult battle, but Lin Xian finally managed to kill his opponent. He had obtained another 7 strands of extreme Dao energy. Lin Xian was overjoyed and put them all away. His shattered body also began to heal. This time, Lin Xian directly entered the Sea of Bitterness to cultivate. This was the safest place. Lin Xian once again returned to the Sword World to heal his injuries. After using the divine water of life to repair it, Lin Xian began to absorb the new extreme Dao energy. This time, Lin Xian used more than a year's time to finally absorb all of the extreme Dao Qi. The aura on his body was also constantly erupting. Lin Xian's eyes revealed a cold light. He was about to break through. He broke through in the sword world and received the impact of the lightning. At the same time, a few more people came from outside. They wanted to cross this sea of bitterness. There were about a dozen people who came. Half of them were seniors, and the other half were young geniuses. After these few years, their expressions had become solemn. The aura on their bodies had also become more and more terrifying. Too many people had been eliminated in the past few years, and the remaining people could be said to be strong. They came to the surroundings of the Sea of Bitterness and looked around. They sucked in a breath of cold air. There had been a great battle here, and there were still remnants of a terrifying aura. Heavens, what kind of battle was this? I feel like this sword strike can split open a world. It's not just one world. It makes me feel like several worlds can be split open. If it wasn't for the suppression of the extreme path martial tool, it would have been shattered long ago. Everyone was discussing animatedly. Other than the biting cold sword chi, they also felt a terrifying aura of the extreme path surrounding them. Heavens, could it be that there are demon beasts with extreme power roaming around nearby? They were terrified. Over the years, they had also sensed quite a few demon beasts. They could still contend against and even kill ordinary demon beasts. However, there were some demon beasts with a rune between their eyebrows. They had seen it before and were unable to contend against it. A single claw could tear a sacred master into pieces. Many people had fallen because of it. In the hands of such a demon beast, the others had been hunted down and killed. At this moment, when they felt this aura, they were also shocked. A sacred master walked over and said, "From the looks of it, it should be a battle from a few years ago. Perhaps that demon beast had left long ago." They didn't know who was so unlucky to be killed by this demon beast. Everyone was discussing animatedly. At this moment, another crack appeared. Everyone looked up and exclaimed in the next moment. It was Gu Feng. Only this person could have such spatial divine abilities. After Gu Feng arrived, he narrowed his eyes when he sensed the aura around him. A demon beast with a rune? It was indeed terrifying. He had experienced it before. All of a sudden, her pupils shrank as she sensed another wave of energy. He waved his hand and grabbed the dried blood on the ground. He carefully sensed it. Such powerful blood, terrifying power, and the aura of flames. This was the 9-yang god blood. Gu Feng was shocked. Only the 9-yang god body could produce blood. Only Lin Xian had the 9-yang god body. In other words, Lin Xian had fought here and was injured. That's great. Gu Feng was overjoyed. According to his guess, Lin Xian was unlucky. He encountered a demon beast with an extreme path rune and fought with it before escaping with heavy injuries. And this should have happened within a year or two. After being injured by an extreme path rune, even the other party would not be able to fully recover. In that case, the other party should be injured now. If he could find the other party, his chances of killing the other party would be greater. Thinking of this, Gu Feng roared excitedly. That's great, Lin Wudi. I'll see how you die this time. The surrounding people were shocked. They had naturally heard of the name Lin Wudi. Could it be that the one who had fought here was Lin Wudi? Lin Wuti fought with a terrifying demon beast and escaped with heavy injuries. It was too unbelievable. Countless people exclaimed. Gu Feng, who was above, had already begun to search for clues. He wanted to chase after the other party. Soon, he frowned, because he found that those clues disappeared when he reached the Sea of Bitterness. Had the other party crossed the Sea of Bitterness? Thinking of this, he snorted coldly and prepared to cross the Sea of Bitterness. Although the Sea of Bitterness ahead was more terrifying than before, with his current strength, he was not afraid at all. The current him was already a double champion. In the past few years, he had found many great path crystals to improve his spatial laws. Lin Wuti, this time, I will definitely not let you escape. Gu Feng tore open the void and was about to cross the Sea of Bitterness. However, at this moment, a palm flew out from the Sea of Bitterness below and directly attacked Gu Feng. Chapter 53-57. Seeing this scene, the surrounding people were frightened. Could it be that the demonic beast was still there? Gu Feng's pupils constricted. If that was the case, he didn't dare to resist. His figure swayed, and he retreated. This palm strike pierced through the void, but his expression quickly darkened. Gu Feng realized that it wasn't a demonic beast, but a human's hand. The others also noticed it and discussed. Who was it? Was it a demonic beast in human form? Everyone looked carefully. A figure walked out of the Sea of Bitterness. Gu Feng's pupils constricted. Lin Wuti, it's you. He was really shocked. The surrounding people were also stunned. Lin Wuti? This person was the legendary Lin Wuti. They looked carefully. How did he walk out of the Sea of Bitterness? God, this Lin Wuti was too terrifying. The Sea of Bitterness was boundless. Countless people didn't dare to enter it. Once they entered, they would lose their power, lose their laws, and have no power to resist. But now, Lin Wuti completely ignored this power. Everyone was frightened, and their scalps went numb. As expected of the legendary person. That's right, the person who walked out was indeed Lin Xian. After killing the ruined demonic beast, he came to the Sea of Bitterness to cultivate and absorb the extreme Dao aura. After more than a year, he finally succeeded in breaking through. Right now, he was already a saint. His strength and cultivation had undergone an earth-shattering change compared to before. Although he hadn't reached the Triple Crown, he was an extremely terrifying existence among the Double Crown. Lin Xian had just woken up in the Sea of Bitterness when he heard Gu Feng's voice above the Sea of Bitterness. The other party actually wanted to kill him while he was injured. A trace of cold killing intent appeared in his eyes. This Gu Feng had gone against him many times. Previously, he had the protection of the great emperor family. This time, in the extreme Dao world, he wouldn't let him go. So, he made a move. After Lin Xian walked out, he said coldly, I heard that you've been looking for me all over the world and even wanted to kill me. I'm standing here now. I'll give you a chance. Do it. Gu Feng's face darkened, and he frowned. He did want to kill him before, but it was too strange that he came out of the Sea of Bitterness. He examined him carefully, but did not find any injuries on his body. Could it be that he had already recovered? Even an injury of the extreme path could be healed so quickly. It was truly unbelievable. Lin Xian sneered. What? Am I standing here? You don't dare? It was really trash. Damn brat, you're underestimating me. Gu Feng was also furious. Regardless of whether the other party had recovered from his injuries, he decided to make a move. If the other party really recovered to his peak, he could just leave. He traveled the world, and no one could stop him. He was very confident in his void technique. Thinking of this, he sneered. Since you want to die, I will fulfill your wish. Gu Feng moved. With a wave of his sleeve, tens of millions of spatial rifts shot forward. At the same time, a terrifying great Dao bloomed in Gu Feng's hand, and the void fingers shot out. Without making a sound, he instantly appeared in front of Lin Xian. Lin Xian shouted coldly as a terrifying power erupted from his body. With a single punch, he charged forward. At this moment, heaven and earth shattered. The Sea of Bitterness below surged. He was like a divine king, erupting with endless divine light. This punch shook the void. The surrounding tens of millions of large rifts shattered. Gu Feng vomited blood and flew out backward, half of his body turning into a bloody mist. He disappeared without a trace. Those people around were also sent flying by this power, vomiting large mouthfuls of blood. Their faces were full of horror. What kind of power was this, completely surpassing them? Gu Feng screamed in pain. His face was pale, cold sweat flowing down. His entire person went crazy. How was this possible? Previously, he could not beat Lin Wuti because he was just a young big shot, and the other party was a double crown king. Now, he had long become a double crown king. In addition, absorbing great Tao crystals these few years, his strength had long surpassed the past. He could completely compete with Lin Xian. But now, he was actually seriously injured by a punch. The other party's power was too strong. But Lin Xian sneered. What? Is it very surprising? Do you think that you are my match after becoming a double crown king? It's a pity that you will never be my match. I'll let you experience my power. Lin Xian snorted coldly, stomping his foot. Strong winds spread, flames sweeping the 9 heavens. Your cultivation. Gu Feng's eyes almost popped out. Late-stage great sage cultivation. Holy Lord. Did the other party break through to become a Holy Lord? This was impossible. Did the other party already reach this level? He turned around and fled. The previous Lin Wuti was already so terrifying without breaking through. Now that he broke through a realm, how strong was his strength? He was not a match. Damn it. The other party had such a fortuitous encounter. His eyes were red. He was extremely jealous, but he did not dare to fight at all now. He fled. Those people watching the battle in the distance were also dumbfounded. This was Gu Feng, double crown king. How terrifying was the power of the void. But in front of Lin Xian, he did not even have the courage to fight. Lin Xian sneered. You want to escape? He pointed his finger like a sword. Wherever the long sword pointed, heaven fell and earth split. The endless void shattered. Within a crack, Gu Feng's body began to tremble. His face was pale. Then, he tore open the void again. Great spatial shift. He instantly fled. It was useless. You can't escape. Rinnegan. Lin Xian used Rinnegan. Terrifying eyes appeared and looked down. 6 paths of reincarnation. Lin Xian locked onto the other party and slashed out again. 9 stars aligned. Between heaven and earth, 9 stars flickered, illuminating the sky. Then, the 9 stars connected, and a divine sword swept forward. What kind of sword was this? The people in the nearby area all looked up at the sky. Heavens, did a god descend to the world? Someone was fighting. They were shocked. Gu Feng's scalp went numb. Feeling this sword, his face turned green. Damn it. He formed a void pagoda and stood in the void. When this pagoda appeared, the surrounding void instantly changed. It either rotated, folded, or directly formed a black hole. Under the effect of this spatial force, all offensive divine abilities couldn't penetrate it at all. This also gave Gu Feng hope to escape. However, Lin Xian's sword was invincible and had the power of the dragon soul. Therefore, this sword directly sent the void pagoda flying. Whether it was the folded space, the rotated space, or the black hole space, all of them were shattered. One of Gu Feng's arms was cut off. However, he cultivated the great emperor's ancient scripture after all. The power of the void was terrifying. At the critical moment, he still used great spatial shift to quickly escape. Although he dodged the fatal blow, he did not dare to be careless at all. Because Lin Xian had a Rinnegan, that pair of eyes was enough to lock onto him, so he escaped like the wind. It's useless. You can't escape. Lin Xian stood in the void, using Rinnegan to the extreme. He firmly locked onto the other party. The power of reincarnation was indeed terrifying. The great spatial shift was also terrifying. If it were any other double champion, the other party would have escaped long ago. However, Lin Xian's Rinnegan had already seen through everything. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.